Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Hey, friends and neighbors, what do you say? Good morning. Great to see you this morning. This is The Bill Press Show. We're coming to you live from our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., bringing you up to date on all the news of the day, whether it's happening here in our nation's capital, around the country, around the globe. Coming to you live on your local progressive talk radio station, on Free Speech TV, and worldwide on our video stream, TawkrTV. Events in the nation's capital. Hi, everybody. It's Bill Press. This year marks the 10th anniversary of doing the Bill Press Show, every day covering the news of the day with the nation's top newsmakers, either on the line or in our studio right here on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. Not only that, I go to the White House briefings every day to get answers to the top questions of the day. Bottom line, if it's happening in Washington, D.C., either at the White House or the Capitol, we are all over it. Every day, we welcome to our studio political leaders and reporters and labor leaders and newsmakers to help us understand the issues of the day. You know, we started out as a radio show only, but over the years, we have branched out to all forms of the new media. So today, we're not just a radio show. We are podcasting, streaming audio, streaming video, and we are simulcast live on Free Speech TV nationwide. Reaching out to 40 million households on Free Speech TV, in addition to hundreds of thousands on local radio stations and online.
AFGE is so proud to be associated with this show and looks forward to being working with Bill and this show for a long time.
Bill Press is the right man at the right time with the right message.
And thanks to the Bill Press Show, we get our message out to thousands and thousands of people every day. Thank you, Bill Press.
The Teamsters are a proud partner with Bill Press on his show, telling the truth about what's going on with working families. Tune in.
Yes, it's been a fun and exciting 10 years so far for the Bill Press Show. We're looking forward to many more with all of you, broadcasting live every morning from the nation's capital.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine,
Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek,
Newtown.
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more? How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
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 Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad.
As a friend.
As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 you wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Yes, indeed. Here we are on Monday, November 23rd on the Bill Press Show. Live on your radio, on TV, on your computer, on your smartphone, on your tablet. Anywhere you want to get us, you got us. On your favorite progressive talk radio station all around the country. And, of course, at youtube.com/TawkrTV, TAWKR-TV. That's how you spell talker these days. Also on Free Speech TV, if you have DirecTV or Dish Network. Also on the Roku box. Shout out to Roku. You can watch us on that. It's very easy to get a hold of the show. You have no excuse. And of course, we're tweeting at BP Show, at BP Show. Hi, everybody. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press today. Bill is gone abroad for Thanksgiving, so we've got a great week of programming lined up for you with some great guest hosts and some special programming because it is Thanksgiving week.
No rules.
No rules. No rules this week. It is the Bill Press Thunderdome. It is like every man.
Parents are out of town.
That's it, man. We can do whatever we want. Kind of.
Cyprian might get on the mic.
Cyprian might get on the mic. Who knows what's going to happen? I mean, they let me host. Jamie might not be here for a couple of days.
Well, yeah, that was planned.
We should talk, actually, about your time off. No, it's Thanksgiving week, my favorite holiday of the year. So we've got a great week of programming and a great show today. My goodness, look at this lineup. Elias Isquith from Salon will be joining us a little bit later. Also, Emily Schultis from the National Journal. Jeb Lund, the greatest Twitter user alive. On Twitter, nobody beats
prolific
Mabute, right? On Twitter, at Mabute. And then Olivia Nuzzi may or may not be joining us today.
We'll see.
Given her track record. And of course, we're going to be joined by the Butterball Hotline.
Huge.
What a booking for you.
Yeah, probably the best booking yet.
What a booking for you.
Right? I'm going to pat myself on the back over here. Well, I mean, you opened your own Thanksgiving hotline on Friday, which had a little bit of controversy, mainly because of the discussion that we had regarding the best holiday.
Okay. So let me just say this, first and foremost. The Thanksgiving hotline is open. Okay, it's wide open.
Wide open through Wednesday.
All week long, right? As long as I'm here to answer your Thanksgiving questions because I cook Thanksgiving meal every year by myself and I nail it. I love it and I'd like to share that wisdom with you. So if you have a Thanksgiving question, you can call me. By the way, you laugh and you think that this is all a stunt. I had questions on Twitter all weekend long. I'm not kidding.
Really?
People ask me, do you put liquid in the pan? No, I don't put liquid in the pan. How do I roast it? How long do I roast the bird? 13 minutes per pound. I'm all over it, Jamie.
I'm okay with the food questions. I want us to move past the favorite holiday discussion this week.
It's done. Look, there's no discussion anymore.
It's not even settled.
Yeah, no. It's been settled. It's been settled.
Well, now what has to happen is you need to have a duel with the Butterball Hotline guest that we have on. I want to see who has the better cooking technique.
I'll go toe-to-toe with Sue Smith from the Butterball Hotline, who's going to be calling in a little bit later on. By the way, the voice you hear is that of Jamie Benson.
Hey, good morning.
Lord of the board in there, keeping us between the ditches. If you call us at 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377, the voice you hear at the other end of the line will be that of Ray Rogers, standing by to take your calls. And I mentioned we are on video at Free Speech TV and youtube.com/TawkrTV because of Cyprian Bolding, who is there keeping us on the video. So yeah, the hotline, Thanksgiving hotline is open. By the way, shout out to my neighbors. Put up their Christmas decorations over the weekend.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's early.
I don't talk to my neighbors like by design. I don't.
Sounds like it.
I'm not that guy.
Yeah.
Right? I come in, put my head down, walk to the house. I don't say hello. I don't need that in my life.
It's kind of a depressing life, to be honest.
No, it's great. No, I don't need anybody. Hey, how's it going? Oh, well, we're great.
You don't want to fake it.
Do not care.
Don't need to fake it.
Do not care.
Yeah.
I'm not that guy. But I walk out. I look at next door at my neighbor. Wreaths in the window. They got the garland up the stairs to the front of their house. They got a little candy cane John in their front yard. I mean, they've gone full Christmas. It's not just like a little Christmas. They've gone full Christmas. And I didn't say anything. I behaved.
Good.
I do what I always do.
We might have some listeners that do the same thing.
Folks, there's a rule. There's a rule. You cannot put up your Christmas decorations until after Thing.
I thought you were going to say they can't listen to the show if they do that.
Oh, I hope they don't listen to the show if they do that, because frankly, that's clown S. But look, if you want to put it up Friday morning after Thanksgiving, be my guest. You want to eat Thanksgiving Day and go put up your decorations on Thursday? It's a stretch, but sure. You technically, you're within the rules.
Mm-hmm.
Wednesday? Nope. Too early. No. I hope someone rips down my neighbor's decorations.
Oh, no.
No, I do.
That would cost a lot of money.
Their
fault.
It's their fault. They're asking for it. Why would you put it up a week before Thanksgiving? It's too much. You're trying too hard. Yeah. So I'm not going to say anything to their face. I'll just come here and say it. Like a good passive-aggressive American.
Yeah. Like you're hiding behind a keyboard on the internet.
That's it. I'm a troll.
In your parents' basement.
In real life. Trolling them. All right. 12 minutes past the hour. Like I said, great show coming up. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
Should we do this again?
Let's do it. Don't screw it up.
Just a couple of other stories for you on this Monday morning. Week 11 in the NFL almost wrapped up. One more game tonight. The New England Patriots.
Yeah, I see you wearing
the jersey today.
Shout out to cheating ass Tom Brady over there with your Turley Tom Brady.
Versus the Buffalo Bills. But the results of yesterday's games, the Texans pulled a bit of an upset against the New York Football Jets, winning that game 24-17. The Dallas Cowboys came away with a victory 24-14 over Miami. However, the Washington football team couldn't eke one out against undoubtedly one of the best teams in football, the Carolina Panthers. The Carolina Panthers, led by Cam Newton, still undefeated. The Panthers and the Patriots undefeated. Some other scores: Lions over the Raiders, Broncos over the Bears, and Seahawks over the Niners. You excited for this game tonight?
No.
Right.
I have no desire to watch any Patriot football. I know you're a big Patriots fan.
Yeah.
No offense. Yeah. I'll tell you what does make me, like, I hate the Washington football team, just the organization, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just in general. The only team that I might hate more are the Carolina Panthers. I wanted to see the Panthers blow them out just because I like to see Washington lose. I hate.
And you're from Carolina.
I'm from Carolina, but I also can't stand Cam Newton. And I know we've got some Carolina fans. I'm an Alabama fan. I have to hate Cam Newton for the rest of my life because of Auburn. But I'll say this to Carolina. All right, they think they've already won the Super Bowl, the way they're out there running around, right? They're acting like they're the best team in football. They're very, very good. Win a playoff game.
Yeah.
How about that? Win a playoff game. All right.
And hey, one more thing. One guy we can't hate, we make fun of him on the show a lot just because of his last name, Joe Flacco.
Oh, Joe Flacco.
Tore his ACL yesterday.
Had a rough game.
Justin Forsett, the running back, broke his arm. Just a sad day all around.
Yeah,
for the
poor
Ravens.
Joe Flacco.
Some bad news here for Dungeness crab lovers. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago. The harvest still on hold there in California.
Yeah.
It's now extended to Oregon and Washington State.
Oh, no.
Those two states have delayed their December 1st opening. Yep, it's the same thing. You've got that domic acid in the crabs. There's only one area, Grays Harbor, Washington, that still have safe levels. Now, if this season doesn't open at all in those three states, they could lose over $170 million.
Oh, my God.
That's how much they made harvesting them in 2014. November 15th was the start of the California season. Again, we still haven't seen that, so Cross your fingers, though.
Yeah.
But we know what this comes down to. Ultimately, this comes down to global warming.
Yeah, I saw this report. I didn't realize it moved up.
Yeah.
Boy, I love Dungeness crab.
I still have never had them.
Really?
Yeah.
I love a Maryland Blue.
I hope I get a chance to have them.
You really should have a Dungeness crab once they're, not lethal to eat. Yeah. They're delicious. Yeah.
I like to end my full court press on some good news.
Please.
This comes out of Canada. A couple up there, Samantha Jackson and Farzan Yousafine, decided instead of having a wedding, a full-blown wedding, you spend all that money, they're going to use that money to help support a Syrian refugee family.
Oh, look at this.
So they did a civil ceremony instead of the big event. They hope to raise 27,000 Canadian dollars. They're at 22,000 right now. So they sent this out to all their guests, and I believe this is online as well. Just a note, and I'd forgotten this, the U.S., of course, had pledged to receive, 10,000 refugees?
Yeah.
Canada, 25,000.
No kidding.
So it's a much bigger deal up there, and it seems as though Canadians are treating this much more seriously.
Oh, really? They're not acting like complete lunatics like we are?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
isn't that nice to see?
Yeah, good for them.
Yeah, good for them. I like that. 16 minutes past the hour. Okay, folks. I've gotten just as much of a kick out of this whole Donald Trump running for president thing as anybody else, right? It's been funny. It's been interesting. It's been wild and woolly. However, it has reached a point where I think it's a little dangerous. I really do. This weekend for Donald Trump has not been good. It's been downright dangerous, racist, race baiting. I'm going to walk you through a whole timeline, right? But since we spoke on Friday, Donald Trump has doubled down on his idea of creating a database for Muslims. He had a Black Lives Matter protester that got roughed up at one of his rallies that Donald Trump said later on maybe he should have been roughed up. He said he would bring back waterboarding if he was president. He said that Muslims in New Jersey were cheering 9/11 as the towers fell. He said that he would institute surveillance on mosques if he was president. Oh, and he also last night tweeted a wild racist meme that said, USA crime statistics, blacks killed by whites, 2%, blacks killed by police, 1%, whites killed by police, 3%, whites killed by whites, 16%, whites killed by blacks, 81%, blacks killed by blacks, 97%. This is, by the way, a flat-out neo-Nazi racist piece of propaganda. That's where it originated. And Donald Trump tweeted it last night.
Big weekend.
Boy, you think you had a big weekend? Look at Donald Trump. You think I'm making all this up? Okay, so the Muslim ID question, right? This question asked by Hunter Walker, our friend from Yahoo News, asked him about whether or not he thinks there should be an ID put in place for Muslim Americans, right? And Donald Trump said, yeah. And as president, he would implement that. Now, people have said, oh, the media with these gotcha questions. Trump never said that. He was asked that question. Well, it's really easy to get out of that question. Jamie, ask me if I think that Muslims should have an ID database if I was president.
Hey, Peter, do you think if you were president, should Muslims have an ID database?
No, that's a ridiculous question.
Oh, all right.
Yeah,
well, that
see,
settles
that's
that.
how you answer that. But that's not what Trump said. He goes, yes. He said, yes, I would implement that as president, okay? He also, in Alabama, there was a Black Lives Matter protester who was interrupting his speech, which is something that the Black Lives Matter protesters do sometimes. They try and speak above the talking points of some of these politicians. And he was pushed, shoved to the ground, roughed up. Donald Trump went on, where was he? This was on Fox and Friends. He says he's okay with that.
I had 10,000 people in the room yesterday, 10,000 people, and this guy started screaming by himself, and they did, I don't know, rough up? Maybe he should have been roughed up.
Jump to the 9/11 clip, because he said that when the towers fell in New York City on 9/11, this is what he saw.
I know they don't like to talk about it, but it was well covered at the time. There were people over in New Jersey that were watching it, a heavy Arab population that were cheering as the buildings came down. Not good.
Snopes looked into this. It's 100% patently not true. Washington Post gave it 4 Pinocchios. It's not even close to true. There's not even a little bit of truth to that. And he says it was well documented. No, it wasn't, because it didn't happen. Full stop. He also, on This Week, talked about waterboarding, a horrible blight on our history. He loved it.
I would bring it back, yes, I would bring it back. I think waterboarding is peanuts compared to what they do to us, what they're doing to us, what they did to James Foley when they chopped off his head. That's a whole different level.
So this is the problem, right? This is the problem with Donald Trump. Like I said, it's been funny at times. He's put a lot of Republicans in their place, and frankly, that's been entertaining to see. But we've now reached a whole new level of the Trump campaign. We've reached the level of Trump being a dangerous man, a dangerous person. When you're telling your supporters that people who disagree with you ought to be a little roughed up, that's bad. That's a bad look, and it's dangerous. And so this is the problem. He's been the front runner since he got into the race. The latest poll I saw, he's 10 points over Ben Carson. He's at 32%. He's not going anywhere. You think this is going to hurt him? Nope. This will only make his numbers better. The people who are voting for Trump love this stuff. And so my question to you at 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377, shouldn't the GOP step in here? Isn't it time? Isn't it time for someone, if there's a grown-up in that party at all, isn't it time for somebody to please step in and say, we were wrong to cater to this lunatic. We were wrong to try and elevate him to the point of a serious politician. We were wrong to give him any of our resources, any of our backing. We were wrong to let Donald Trump into this race. The GOP has got to step in. They have to. They have to. 866-55-PRESS. 866-557-7377. Have them come out and throw their weight behind Marco Rubio. Ted Cruz even. I don't care. It's somebody other than Trump. 23 minutes past the hour. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press. Very quick break. We'll be right back.
Connect with the Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is the Bill Press Show.
So this is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. When I say dot, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Same time next week?
Well, of course.
Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan, big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
This is the Bill Press Show.
This is the Bill Press Show. Peter Ogburn sitting in for Bill Press. Washington Post ABC News poll. Who do you trust most to handle the economy? Trump, 47%. Immigration, 45%. Terrorism, Trump, 42%. The only closest, after Trump, it's Carson, 15%. Rubio, 18%. It's like a 30-point drop-off. People, Republicans, love Trump. This is the danger. We now have a follow the leader effect, right? Ben Carson went out and said, oh, we don't want to tell the enemy what we're doing, so waterboarding and everything is on the table. Marco Rubio said, not only is he on board for surveilling mosques the way Trump said, he's in favor for putting surveillance up at coffee shops, grocery stores that Muslims frequent. So when you have someone who is as popular as Trump is and is leading all the polls like Trump is, all the other candidates feel the need to get on board and get some of that juice. It's time for the GOP to step in, find someone else, get Trump out of the race. 866-55-PRESS. Be right back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Officer, were you the one who arrested me? You gonna shake my hand? So I got invited to host a vigil called Carry the Names. And that's what they were doing, carrying the names of the people who were victims of deadly police force. Michael Brown, Eric Garner, that guy Gurley. I got a motion from Dragonfly from Stop Shopping Choir, and I started preaching. I preached up a storm as best I could, but about a minute and a half into my sermon, the place was flooded with police, Homeland Security, National Guard, state troopers, and I was pushed over and handcuffed so fast, down in the jail, down in the basement. Before you know it, I was out the door, put in prison overnight. The next morning, I'm in court. The same thing happens. I'm just rushed out of there. Then our lawyer, Wiley Steckler, gives me this iPhone. And there, in black and white, in the Gothamist, a popular paper, is this charge by Adam Lisberg, the MTA law enforcement spokesperson for this grand place. His quote is that I, Reverend Billy, physically attacked a police officer. Unbelievable. The feeling of being robbed of my work and life and identity, just the fiction. I did not touch anybody. I did not look. I know how to do this. I'm trained in nonviolence. I did not do anything. It was right here. It was right here. It happened right here. I was simply arrested while I was speaking. and taken away, and that's it. The cold feeling in my city, the city that I love, that city spokespersons whose salary I pay for with my taxes, that they would say this. I can just feel the rending apart of the community, that we are not that close. We're not. They are willing to say this, and they think that they can just say anything about anybody and get away with it. So we have something in the Church of Stop Shopping called radical forgiveness. Amen?
Cops and bankers love their children.
I forgive the police.
We gotta love them too. Cops and bankers love their mothers.
But I'll stay radical.
Mothers love their brothers. We gotta love them too.
But we'll wake up every morning forgiving each other, reaching out, touching, telling stories, having humor, being in a community together, sharing our children, sharing the streets, sharing the climate, being in the city together. But forgiving each other, being grateful to each other, helping each other out, living together, living together.
I got a daughter just turned 4. What do we do in the superstore? What do we do with the blood and the gore? The water's rising through our door. Love our children too. Love our children too.
Amen. Earthalujah.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. At highway speeds, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Stop the texts, stop the wrecks.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
It is the Bill Press Show, 33 minutes past the hour. My name is Peter Ogburn. I'm sitting in for Bill Press today. 866-55-PRESS is our telephone number. 866-557-7377 here on Monday, November 23rd, as we ease our way into Thanksgiving. Very excited about that. Remember, the hotline is open for all of your turkey cookery needs or Thanksgiving cooking needs. Need ideas for a side dish, how to cook your turkey, desserts. Man, I got you. I'm here for you. It is my greatest pleasure in life is to cook Thanksgiving dinner for all of my friends and family, so I'm happy to help and share that knowledge with you. Meanwhile, we're talking about the real turkey here, folks. Am I right? Donald Trump. Come on now. Donald Trump is ahead in all of the latest polls. By the way, CBS News poll, in Iowa, Donald Trump 30%, Ted Cruz 21%. In New Hampshire, Donald Trump 32%, Marco Rubio 13%. He's got almost a 20-point lead on the second place there in New Hampshire, and almost a 10-point lead in Iowa. Meanwhile, he had one of the weirdest, grossest political weekends I've seen in quite some time this weekend. And yet, he continues to stay atop, if not surge, and go higher in these Republican polls. Republicans want this, there's no other way to put it, folks. He's a racist. This racist candidate for president at the top of the ticket. Taking your calls at 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377. Should the GOP step in here? Should the GOP say that they no longer want Donald Trump to be the nominee for the party? They don't want him involved in this process at all. Taking your calls on that. We go to Kevin in Atlanta, Georgia. Hey, Kevin.
Hi. Yes, I'm African American, and traditionally, me and my family vote Democratic.
Okay.
However, we are supportive of Donald Trump because we do believe that he will be the greatest jobs creation president this country has ever had. Now, some of the things that he says makes him, we believe, unelectable because they're outrageous, just off the cuff. But some of them are very true. For example, the highest percentage of black crime is black on black crime. Also,
hey, let me just stop you for a second there, Kevin, because I'm not going to cut you off. I want to have a real conversation with you. He tweeted something last night that said 97% of blacks are killed by blacks, and that 81% of whites are killed by whites. He's putting out these numbers, which are 100% false, and they come from a neo-Nazi group. That's where he's getting his numbers. You okay with that?
Well, I don't know about that.
No, you do know. I just told you. Those are the numbers. That's what I'm looking at, the tweet that he put out last night. I'm telling you. That's what he thinks about you.
Well, those numbers may be incorrect, but
they are incorrect, and he's putting them out there. So is that what you want? You want a president that thinks that about you?
Well, no, I don't want any. That's why I said I don't think he's electable, but
you're supporting him, Kevin.
Yeah, for some reason, I don't think Donald is as harmful as he seems. I don't know. I may be crazy. I just do not feel like he's truly a racist person. I know that I used to be a Muslim for like 13 years.
Oh, boy,
and
Kevin,
I know.
How in the world could you vote for Donald Trump?
We need jobs, and he is a businessman, and we need a businessman in the White House who has created jobs.
That's one of the most wrong things, by the way. You look at businessmen as politicians, they usually do a pretty terrible job. But business stuff aside, I mean, you used to be a Muslim. Would you be okay with him giving you an ID so that he could track you everywhere that you went and know all of your movements? That's what he wants to do, Kevin. Do you want to, if you have a problem with police killing unarmed black men, that if you speak up about it, you think your president thinks that you should be roughed up? That's what Donald Trump thinks. Do you think that Donald Trump thinks that you were cheering the towers that fell on 9/11? That's what he thinks. That's what he said over the weekend. Muslims cheered the towers falling down on 9/11. Is that what you want out of your president?
No, I think Donald, for some reason, is blowing a lot of hot air, and I don't really believe that he feels that way. I don't know why he's
If we're going to take our politicians at their word, which I agree, Kevin, can sometimes be a little bit of a stretch, this is what he's saying. This isn't like people saying, we think he might do this or that. These are his words. So if he doesn't do it, he's a liar. So, I mean, I want to have this conversation, Kevin, because I just cannot understand where you're coming from, man.
Well, I think Donald is unelectable because he's wording things in such a way that people can accept it. But I think that if he was not trying to get attention, that he would be a lot more reasonable and have a lot more to offer in terms of real solutions to the economy.
All right, Kevin, I appreciate your call. I think we've just sort of hit an impasse here because I can't understand where you're coming from. I appreciate you trying to enlighten me and make me understand, man. But boy, oh boy, oof. William in Charlotte, North Carolina. What's happening, William?
Hey, good morning. The reason I was calling because I just heard Kevin make a statement, and I kind of thought it was kind of he's misinformed along the lines. First of all, Donald Trump is a racist based on his racist statements.
Yeah.
They're not unconscious; they're consciously made.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's a very important distinction to make here, William, because a lot of people talk about dog whistle statements, right? That some politicians will make. There ain't no dog whistle with Donald Trump. He's just flat out racist.
Exactly. And
yeah.
He's pandering to the particular people that he wants to get all fired up, and we all know those are some white racist people inside the Republican Party. He want to get them all fired up. And those, as you said, dog whistle, those certain words, he knows they will come out. As far as Kevin, he's misinformed, okay? Yeah. As far as crime is committed where people live and people who look like them, okay? Yeah. The statistics, when I saw years ago, 90% crime on black crime and like 80-something% white on white crime.
Right.
So crime is pretty much the same based on race. Unfortunately, this negative connotation that's been associated with black, everything evil, crime, is being perpetuated by Donald Trump, okay, the corporate media and everything associated. These different triggers are reinforced over and over where you see different things. So I wanted to dispute Kevin. As far as job creation, Donald, what makes you think Donald Trump's going to be a good person to create jobs? Because he's a businessman. He's a businessman that's filed for bankruptcy 4 different times, okay? He's more like a damn Ponzi scheme. So I don't see him being a great job creator. And let's forget the myth that the Republicans have. Jobs haven't been created of Republicans as president. It's been under the Democratic watch. So this narrative that keeps being reinforced by the Republicans, Democrats need to put an end to it and speak on it. That is not the case.
There he goes, William from Charlotte, North Carolina. I appreciate the call. That's a good point. This whole idea that businessmen are going to be job creators, they're going to be great presidents, it hasn't panned out in the past. If you look at businessmen who have been politicians and businesswomen, Christ, look at Carly Fiorina. She's running on her business past, and her business past is all about laying people off. We got time for one more call. Let's go to William in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. William, thanks for calling the Bill Press Show.
Hey, Peter, I think that Trump bringing back waterboard would just be George W. Bush on steroids. It'd be horrible.
Yeah. Look, I mean, he said a lot of crazy, dangerous things this weekend. I think the waterboarding thing is pretty high up there in terms of the most dangerous things he said. We've moved past waterboarding. We're better than that as a country. We look back on that now as a society. We say, what were we thinking? And we got that report that says no good information. Not a single piece of good information came from our torture or enhanced interrogation techniques. Not one. And we want to go back to that? No.
No way.
I don't think so. Good call, William. By the way, boy, I hate to see what's happening to Les Miles and LSU in Baton Rouge, William. Ooh, boy. Yeah. Rough weekend for him. Rough couple of weekends for him. All right. 43 minutes past the hour. Going to take a quick break. I appreciate all the calls. Stay on the line. We'll try and get to you a little bit later on in the program. Well, we've got Elias Isquith, staff writer for Salon, going to be joining us just after this very quick break. My name is Peter Ogburn. I'm sitting in for Bill Press today. Stay tuned. Yes?
Get social with Bill Press. Like us at Facebook.com/Bill Press Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
You know, sometimes when I'm walking down the street, I'm not necessarily looking out and seeing all these water-wasting lawns and people that aren't as connected to their neighbors and their lives as they could be. I'm walking down the street looking, going, edible oases, rainwater, fed landscape, and just looking at the possibility of these sort of landscapes up and down the streets of neighborhoods and communities all across this world. Small actions do ripple, and they add up, and they have a cumulative impact. And so when you're building upon your small, mindful actions, you know, you have the confidence and the ability to take on something a little bit greater. So that could be nice. This, in the context of where we're at as a planet with climate change and these really big issues, and people that are more disconnected and less skilled than ever, it becomes even more amazing and powerful how much of a solution this is to design these ecological gardens and to come together with shared vision and shared voice. There's never been a time where your choices have mattered more. Doing something as simple as us transforming a landscape creates a model that anybody could look at far and wide, and you're sharing food and connecting and building skills together in your own neighborhood. It's a richer way to live in normal times, but in the new normal of climate change and erratic weather and economic upheaval, it becomes essential. Whether it's me, you, Gandhi, Che, MLK, Willy Wonka, whoever, past, present, or future, the power of our daily actions is all that we have. You know, and like our community said, give me a place to stand and a lever long enough and I'll move the world. And that's what those simple actions do. They move the world every day.
Help keep all the presidential candidates straight with your progressive headquarters for the 2016 election. This is The Bill Press Show.
It is The Bill Press Show, 47 minutes past the hour. Monday, November 23rd. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press today. Thanksgiving week is upon us. I'm so ready for it, man. I did all my shopping, a ton of my shopping yesterday. I look forward to that more than I do Christmas. Just the shopping.
I don't have to do any shopping.
Come on, man.
I get to go home.
I cook for the whole family. We're having some friends up.
I'm gonna help
the compound.
I'm gonna help Mom cook. I'll tell you that much.
What are you gonna cook?
Maybe like a pie.
What kind of pie are you cooking?
She asked me what I wanted this year, and I really did. I couldn't answer. I mean,
you go pecan pie.
I should.
The correct answer is pecan pie.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the king of the.
She
of
does
the
like
pies.
a pecan with like chocolate and a bunch of different stuff too in it.
Yeah.
She might be listening. Careful.
I'm sure your mama is a sweet woman. I met your mother. I'm sure she makes a mean pie.
Yeah.
I'm a very traditional pecan pie man when it comes to the holiday table.
I'll try to tell her to keep it simple.
Thank you. 48 minutes past the hour. Time to talk to Elias Isquith, staff writer for Salon. Follow him on Twitter at Elias Isquith, ISQUITH. Hi, Elias. Good morning.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for having me.
All right. I appreciate you joining me. We've been talking a lot about Donald Trump this morning already because what a weekend this guy had between saying the Black Lives Matter protesters should have been roughed up at one of his rallies, says he's going to bring back waterboarding, said that Muslims in New Jersey were cheering when the towers fell on 9/11, calling for surveillance on mosques, saying that there should be an ID program put into place for Muslims, and tweeting out this racist piece of neo-Nazi propaganda about crime statistics in this country. Is any of that going to hurt Donald Trump?
It kind of feels like he's going through like a neo-fascist checklist, doesn't it? And
I can't think of any more things for him to hit on, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I guess all that's missing now is, I suppose, if he starts coming out wearing like a general's uniform, then we'll know that that we've gone through the whole cycle.
Yeah.
In terms of hurting him, no, I don't think it will. I mean, that's part of what's made this whole thing so. Obviously, it's been kind of fascinating and bizarre, but also, unsettling. The people who like Trump, these kinds of news stories are, nobody who's been paying attention to him so far and thinking of voting for him is going to see any of this and say, well, that's not the guy I thought I was signing up for.
Right.
This is part of what they like about him. I mean, they may think it's going a little too far. They may think that, he is a little out of control, but they're inclined to say that the real enemy here is, the status quo. It's the media, it's immigrants, it's anybody but him. He may not be great, but he's low on the list of the real enemies.
Is there any chance? This is something I was just kicking around earlier. Is there any chance that the Republicans sort of say this has gone too far? We need someone who we think could actually win, and somehow disavow Trump or find a way to get him out of the race, or is that just not even in the realm of possible?
I mean, I don't think they could if they wanted to. To some degree, I think that his whole campaign is a product of, we're seeing, the at least on the Republican side, the kind of traditional American political system is, if it's not falling apart, then it's creaking, certainly under a lot of the weight of a lot of new kind of, new technology, inequality, People are angry to a degree that is kind of, unprecedented.
Yeah.
Maybe not quite unprecedented, but it's rare. But, yeah, I don't think they can get rid of him even if they wanted to. And plus, you're going to have a lot of people who are, in some sense, literally invested in winning the presidential election. And I think you'll see people who are – I think you're already starting to see some Republicans rationalizing their way to thinking, maybe we can somewhat stand to hold our nose and so forth. So, yeah, I don't have much sunny feelings to share on that.
So when we talk about people who aren't voting for Trump, sort of the mainstream favorite among most people seems to be Marco Rubio. But your piece about Marco Rubio shows that he's not quite as mainstream or quite as mild or tame as some people think, right?
No, he's not. I mean, it's really pretty amazing, just like in all the ways that Trump has changed the dynamic. One of the things that gets less appreciated is, all the people he's running against are starting to say things that in any other cycle would be, I think pretty big news in terms of the level of extremism. So, I mean, Rubio's already come out saying he's against abortion even in cases of rape and incest. And like any other cycle, that would be, I think, a pretty big deal, especially coming from like the so-called establishment guy. But on issues of, Islamophobia and counterterrorism, there's been something almost kind of, I think, a little unsettling about the degree to which Rubio's sort of been like, he's almost got like a spring in his step since what happened, the awful things that happened in Paris. And he's been saying stuff that is really pretty far out there. I mean, not only comparing, say ISIS to, the Nazi party, which is, not out of the norm, but comparing all of Islam to, Nazism, and saying stuff along the lines of, when he's asked questions about what Trump's saying with like, a database or shutting down mosques or something like that, instead of pushing those, solutions, out of, the realm of possibility, his response has basically been to, in a kind of way to kind of finesse saying that Trump doesn't go far enough. He said something along the lines of, instead of saying, no, we won't close down mosques because obviously that's against the First Amendment and all sorts of reasons, his response is, well, we can't just stop at mosques. We have to close down anything.
Cafes, where they gather.
Go ahead.
I was just saying, I think part of this is sort of follow the leader, right? Because everyone sees how popular Trump has gotten by making these sort of bombastic statements, so they feel like they have to make some of their own. But yeah, you're right. In any other cycle, some of the stuff Rubio said would be a total game changer. Yeah,
it feels like a little bit, how does the saying go, like holding the tiger by the tail or something like that. Yeah. It seems like, the Trump thing has gotten out of control for a lot of the kind of the establishment within the GOP, and it seems like their solution, they think, is they can sort of out-Trump him or sort of do Trump light. And, if I'm the kind of voter who's interested in Trump, why would I go for Rubio instead of the real thing?
Right. Good stuff. All right. Elias Isquith, staff writer for Salon. Make sure you follow him on Twitter at Elias Isquith, Isquith. Thank you, Elias. I appreciate it, man.
Thanks for having me.
Talk to you next time. It's the Bill Press Show. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press today. Very quick break. We'll be right back.
Your progressive headquarters for the 2016 election. This is the Bill Press Show.
We came here to Foster City, where we're going to watch UC Berkeley, a University of California SWAT team, do a hostage rescue scenario.
Should I put the water in there now?
Yeah, go ahead. So this is like some kind of chemical agent?
Yeah. Copy, we're ready. I'm gonna get shot. I already know it, dude. Beanie's yelling at me. Help me. Your hands. Help me. Show your hands. Back to me. Just wait.
our personnel. Get these guys out of here. Pull them out. Pull them out. Pull them out. Put your hands on your face. Put your hands on your face. Keep him covered.
Your head up. He's got a shotgun back there.
That's all right. Keep his hands up where we can.
Hands on your face.
Hands on your face.
On your face.
On your face.
Someone cover me. I got a holster up, bro.
Okay, pull him around the corner. Pick him up. Get him out of the building. Quickly. We've got this. Let's get that guy out of there. You, come towards us. Keep your hands on your face. Turn around. Face away from us. Back towards us. Quickly. Back up towards me. Quickly, quickly, quickly. Pull him out of the room.
We're exfilling, Billy.
Yes, we are exfilling.
It was actually around 92, 94. There was an attack on the chancellor at his residence, which is on campus. And we realized at the time that we didn't have any resources to deal with that kind of threat when it took place. So, and I think about 15 years before, they had some kind of semblance of a SWAT team. So they regenerated the idea of activating a SWAT team.
And then since then, you guys have kind of branched out to doing what kind of stuff?
Well, since then, we train for everything. We train for every eventuality, barricaded subjects. Like I said, most of what we do is high-risk warrants.
And it's something like, it could be like a mugging kind of thing, just like on the street?
Depends. I mean,
like
a mugging, but if it's armed, particularly.
Right, an armed mugging,
yeah. Right, exactly. And then, obviously, we're looking for training for anything else that we might be faced with. And that's what's great about Urban Shield is, we couldn't duplicate this on our own.
Talking turkey at the top of the next hour. Sue Smith from the Butterball Talk Line is going to be joining us on the phone. By the way, if you have any questions for her, tweet us now at BP Show. I will ask them at BP Show. Send us your questions for the Butterball Talk Line. We're going to be talking to them at the top of the next hour. I'd be happy to ask them for you. But of course, if you don't want to talk to them or don't want to tweet them or tweet us, just call in. I'll answer your questions for you. Get everything you need. I had a whole conversation about the brining situation of the turkey, which I'm going to ask Sue because I'm notoriously anti-brine. I'm going to see what she says about the brine.
I wonder if we have any basting truthers out there.
I will ask you about the basting. I'm going to make a note about the basting, Jimmy. That's a good point. All right. So stay tuned. Not only that, we're going to be talking to Emily Schultis from the National Journal about some politics and a lot of good stuff coming up later on in the show. My name is Peter Ogburn. And for Bill Press, stay tuned.
This is the Bill Press Show.
I'm a Piston fan. Their slogan was, "We come to work." That's what Detroit about. That's why they used it. It's a team thing. They won 2 championships, a team. There was no star. No mayor can come in here and be a star. It's a team thing. No governors can come in here and think you can do it by yourself. It's a team thing. You got communities. They got ideas, too. The only thing wrong with Detroit, people have lost hope here. Residents, city workers, so much corruption. They lose hope. But I grew up here. I love this city. I think it can come back. I've been working for the city 24 and a half years. Within the last 10 years, we took 4 pay cuts, and then an additional 10% wage cut. I've lost a home.
When you take all of the decisions out of the city of Detroit, all of us, then what do you have? Exactly what we got, a lot of problems. Every time the city seems to fall into a problem, it's always on the backs of us workers.
You wake up out of a dead sleep and you jump behind the wheel and take off driving and try to get everybody there safe, not knowing really what you're pulling up to. I'm not eligible for Social Security, so the pension is my sole salary at this point.
We've been in business here 39 years. We've seen
A lot of changes in Detroit. The area was a lot of industry, a lot of city workers. It's getting very tough for the city workers. It's getting tough for us as a business people.
Response times are increasing because of the closing of companies, which takes your insurance rate through the roof. So all the things that affect us affect the citizens.
I worked for the city in different capacities for 29 years. I feel like an old jacket. You use me up and they throw me away. In my condition, nobody's gonna hire me. I'm 68 years old. Half the times, I can't get my blood pressure medicine. It's either feeding myself, blood pressure, or paying bills.
$7.54. By the time they take all the deductions for I have my car insurance, my house insurance, and my health insurance taken out. So the time they take all that, I'll get about $300 after they take all that out. I don't understand it. I can't see how the governor's allowing this to happen and what they're doing to and they want to blame it all on the seniors. Not only the seniors, but the city workers. And we worked hard. I know I worked hard.
I've been in Detroit since 1946. I was 14 years old when I came in. I don't live large at all. I wish I could. I don't know when the last time I've been shopping. I only get $1,100, and I'm 81 years old, and I need every penny that I can get and that I do get. And I'm very, very upset about the idea of them taking away my pensions that I worked 30 years for. I think it's terrible that they talk about Detroit like they do, because Detroit has been very good to me.
I have a lot of city workers coming in with their uniforms on, Detroit Water Department, Police Department, Fire Department. I get a lot of people, the Border Patrol come in. So if I lose that customer base, I'm going to be in a position where I might have to close down. If they take away their pensions, if they start cutting jobs, it's going to cut into a large percentage of not only our business, but other businesses that are in the city of Detroit. We're here. We've been here for 26 years. We're still trying to do business in the city.
Detroiters are survivors. They tough. They adapt. But only can do so much when your politicians ahead of you and we're not on the same team. We're not going to let Detroit be erased, bulldozed to where we're going to fight to the bitter end. Detroit going to survive.
Just this month, my bill was like $138.
Even at one phone call a week cost me $40 to $50 every month.
I am living on a fixed income of SSI, so this is really a great hardship. Families are being punished. When they incarcerate their children, they incarcerate the whole family.
In 2011, the Media Action Grassroots Network, Working Narratives, and Prison Legal News founded the Campaign for Prison Phone Justice, an effort to call on the FCC to address the cost of interstate phone calls. The campaign mobilized prisoners to send hundreds of letters. Advocates and families filled out postcards, met with elected officials, and signed petitions. Partnerships were formed across the political spectrum and with groups in the criminal justice, civil rights, and public interest community. The film distribution company Participant Media and director Ava DuVernay joined the fight through a social action campaign tied to the release of the feature film Middle of Nowhere. In an effort to push the FCC to act, the campaign hosted a historic rally outside of the Federal Communications Commission where for the first time, families of prisoners, elected officials, civil rights and faith leaders came together to call for an end to predatory phone rates.
We're all held captive when predatory phone companies gouge our families.
My son has been incarcerated now for over 10 years, and my husband estimates that in the time we spent over $25,000 on prison phone calls.
My hero's not yours, you probably arrested them. Your schools probably neglected them. They spawn thoughts, you probably infected them. Feed us what you feed us, you can lay us next to them. FBI call it major crimes. Babies making babies cry.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
It is The Bill Press Show, Monday, November 23rd. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press today. We kick off Thanksgiving week. That's right. It's a whole week thing. It's not just one day. All week long. Thanksgiving is the greatest holiday, and I am happy to share it all with you here on The Bill Press Show, where we are broadcasting live on all of your favorite progressive talk radio stations and streaming live video at youtube.com/TawkrTV. Also, Free Speech TV is where you can find us on DirecTV, Dish Network, and the Roku box. Get yourself one of those if you don't have one of those. And we're on Twitter at BP Show. I am on Twitter at Peter Ogburn. And we are just so thrilled that you are listening to the show today. Keeping us on the air, making sure I don't screw up, is Jamie Benson. Hi, Jamie.
Good morning. Also making sure you don't curse.
That is quite a job.
There's really not much I can do about that.
I got to tell you, I do a pretty good job on air. Considering off air.
It's a different story.
It's a whole different story.
Yeah.
Follow Jamie on Twitter, by the way. What's your Twitter handle? J Benson DC?
J Benson DC.
Go ahead. Go follow Jamie.
Thank you.
Yeah, how about that?
Hey.
All right. 866-55-PRESS is our phone number. If you call that line, if you call that number, the voice you hear on the other end of the line will be that of Ray Rogers, standing by to take your calls. And I mentioned all the video work. If you're watching us on video, you can thank Cyprian Bolding, who is making sure we look so damn good this morning. Oh, that was, I just cussed, Jamie. I just said a curse.
Yeah,
that's an acceptable one, though, right?
Yeah, we'll let it pass.
8 minutes past the hour. A lot of good stuff coming up on the show, talking some politics. And also, if you need any help with any of your Thanksgiving ideas or cookery, I'm your guy. I'm happy to help. I consider myself a bit of an expert on the whole Thanksgiving cooking thing because I do it every year, and I love doing it. It's my favorite thing to do. I did a lot of my shopping yesterday. By the way, when I go shopping for Thanksgiving, nobody comes with me. Kids aren't allowed to come because it is warfare. I'm like, I get there, I get my buggy, I got my list. I still write it out on paper, even though
you got to.
I know. I totally have to.
Because the iPhone notes thing, right? The screen goes off.
The screen goes off. I've even got one of these little checklist apps, right, that you just click it
and then you get a text.
But then exactly, it's a whole thing. I go paper, especially with a big long list like that. So I go through. I'm just like, just scooting around like a NASCAR driver through the store, man. I know exactly what I want. I do the same thing almost every year. I just crush. But I might not be the authority, right? I'm an expert, but I'm not the authority. You know who is? Sue Smith. She's the co-director of the Butterball Talk Line, and she joins us on the phone right now. Hi, Sue. Good morning.
Good morning, Peter. How are you?
I'm doing well, my dear. Thank you so much for joining me. So I want to go through a couple of typical Thanksgiving mistakes that people make when it comes to cooking the bird, because you all know all about cooking the bird. And by the way, for those who don't know, what is the Butterball Hotline? If they want to call you and they have a turkey emergency, where can they call you?
Absolutely. It's easy. It's 1-800-BUTTERBALL.
1-800-BUTTERBALL. Easy enough. Okay, so that's the number that people call. So I got to imagine people have gotten themselves into some real binds in the past, and they've called you for help. What are some of the funniest or weirdest calls that you all have gotten?
We get so many cute calls. Our number one call year after year is how to thaw your turkey. And, these turkeys have been in many places. They've been soaking in hot tubs and they will call and be like, it's soaking my hot tub. How long do you think it will take to defrost?
Oh, geez.
It's been in dishwashers. It's been in bathtubs with kids, kind of multitasking, and a mom came
that's
home.
a terrible idea.
Oh, I know. It was in, the bathtub with his twin boys, and, he was proud. He's like, I got the boys clean. I got my turkey thawed. And the mom's like, I don't think that's probably the best way.
Oh,
but
no. Of course it was a dad doing that,
Well, I mean, but he was multitasking, so I do appreciate that. But, ideally that turkey is in its own bath in cold water, and that's really your quickest way to thaw your turkey. It takes about 30 minutes a pound. And, of course, you can put it in the refrigerator to thaw as well, and that takes 1 day for every 4 pounds.
Okay, all right. Now, I asked people, our listeners and viewers on Twitter, to tweet us with some of their questions they had, and we actually got a couple. So I'm going to ask you a couple. Cordell Garrett asks, is it better to cook the stuffing in the bird or out of the bird?
Oh, great question. We get this question every year. Both ways are wonderful.
Okay.
It really kind of comes down to tradition and how you're used to doing it. If you're going to stuff the turkey, of course, it takes a little bit longer to cook, about 45 minutes to an hour. And we recommend preparing and stuffing the turkey right before you put it in the oven. Grab that meat thermometer and make sure that stuffing reaches 165, but it's a great way to prepare the turkey.
That's a good question about the temperature, right? What is the appropriate temperature for
Absolutely.
the turkey?
That's another good thing to know, so you know when your turkey's done and you're not going to overcook it. Because when you overcook it, that's kind of when you start to maybe dry it out a little bit. So when that thigh meat reaches 180 degrees, so that's your dark meat, and the breast reaches 170, and again, if it's stuffed, the center of that stuffing should be 165, you know your turkey's done.
Okay, that's good. That's good to know. Catherine Sullivan asks us, what is the best thing to put under the skin of the turkey to keep it juicy?
You don't really have to put anything in there. Butterball turkeys are already self-basted, so to speak. But a lot of people still like to, butterballs don't have butter in them, but a lot of people like to put butter under the skin. Again, they try to, enhance the juiciness. It's really not necessary. A lot of people, and we recommend brushing it with vegetable oil before you put it in the oven, and that really helps to give it that golden brown color.
There you go.
Which everyone, loves to look at when it comes out of the oven.
I go a little herb butter. I make a little herb butter. I put it between the skin and the breasts. And I find that keeps the breast nice and moist. I do like the butter situation happening.
Great.
All right, let me ask you about brining.
Okay.
Because there's a whole debate about to brine or not to brine. Where do you stand on brining?
It's a fun way to do it. It's definitely very popular. We get a lot of calls on how to brine your turkey. Again, not necessary with the turkey, and if you're going to do it, you might want to do it with a fresh turkey because, like I said, the frozen turkeys are already pre-brine, so to speak, and some people might find it a little salty if they brine a frozen turkey, and some people won't notice. It just depends on your salt sensitivity, but it's great. So it's about a cup of kosher salt per gallon of water. You soak that turkey really for about 24 hours. With the theory is it's that salt is attracting that water into the turkey and making it a little bit more juicy.
Okay.
And a lot of people like to add some spices to it too. Just to shake it up. So it's a fun way to prepare it. Okay,
the greatest part of eating a turkey is the skin, right? I mean, I'm not alone on this, right?
I know.
The turkey skin is delicious.
So good.
So how do I make sure that I have a nice, crispy, brown turkey skin? What's the key to that?
The best way is putting the turkey in the oven uncovered. Okay, you're going to keep it uncovered, and then about 2/3 of the way through or so, at that point, you're going to shield the breast with some foil, and that just prevents the turkey from getting overdone while you're waiting for that thigh meat to get to temperature. But when you leave it uncovered, that's really going to allow that skin to get that nice crispy texture.
All right. Okay. Well, I have to ask you, because I've been a part of, not me cooking, of course not, Sue, but some people, I've been a part of some real Thanksgiving disasters. Have you gotten any calls from people who are just totally screw something up so bad and they call you? I mean, how do you save them? What are some of your success stories?
Sure. We do like to say that we can solve most problems and answer any questions. We had a call once where, again, as a husband and wife team calling, which, those are going to be great calls when they both are on the line. And, he, of course, was in charge of turning the oven on and making, checking the turkey every so often. And the wife was saying, our oven is broke. It keeps turning off. What are we going to do? So I was talking to her about, get your grill going. It's a great way to prepare your turkey. They were all excited. But then we found out as we were talking, their Labradoodle keeps, prancing into the kitchen and keeps smelling the turkey in the oven and kept jumping up, and his little paws were turning off the oven.
Oh,
so she's like, you know what, our oven is not broke. But in the meantime, the grill was going, and they decided to finish out in the grill, which is a fantastic way to prepare the turkey.
There you go. That's not a bad idea. All right, so I had a conversation with someone about basting, right? Because I'm a big baster, but I also had someone said that every time you open the oven, you lose all this heat and it slows down the cooking, and basting isn't really necessary. Where does Butterball stand on the basting?
Exactly. You're right. It's not necessary. Again, it's not going to really penetrate through the skin into the meat. Mm-hmm. And it does. It can prolong the cooking, but if you keep opening the oven, and, we like to say, if you're looking, the turkey's not cooking. So just keep that oven closed. And, yeah, it's certainly fine. But, again, it all kind of comes down to tradition, what your mom did, what your grandma did. I mean, the Talkline has been here for 35 years.
Oh, and wow.
I know, and we love it. It's a wonderful job, and really we're celebrating that by doing a throwback Thanksgiving.
Yeah, when I asked you about the throwback Thanksgiving, tell me about that.
Yeah, it's great. So what we're doing, we're opening our archives, so to speak, and posting some of our favorite photos over the years, some retro recipes. And what's fun is we really want the viewers and callers and listeners to call in go to butterball.com and post some of their favorite throwback Thanksgiving memories.
Oh, cool.
We've got so many cute pictures on there. And you're also entered into a sweepstakes every time or when you post a photo. So it's been a really cute.
Oh, fun. Everybody should go do that. Absolutely. How many calls do you usually get, or how many do you expect to get this year?
This year, we usually field over about 100,000 calls.
Whoa, really?
In phone calls. On Thanksgiving Day, we're there 12 hours. We'll take about 10,000 calls. But then we can do emails, live chats, of course, our social media sites. You can ask us questions. So we're really available however is easiest.
That's amazing, though. You said 10,000 on Thanksgiving Day?
On Thanksgiving Day. It's our busiest day. Yes, we have everyone working. Like I said, we're open 12 hours. And, yeah, the phones, you talk nonstop to these people. And it's the best day to work.
Whoa.
I mean, you get to be in so many people's kitchens, so to speak, and help them enjoy one of the most, traditional family dinners of the year. So it's a lot of fun.
I love it. All right. Sue Smith, co-director of the Butterball Talkline. Follow them on Twitter @Butterball. And if you have a question for them, for crying out loud, call them at 1-800-BUTTERBALL. Thank you, Sue. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome, and have a happy Thanksgiving.
You do the same, my dear. Thank you so much for joining me. All right. Sue Smith from Butterball with the Butterball Talkline. We're going to take a quick break here on the Bill Press Show. My name is Peter Ogburn. I'll be right back.
Follow us on Twitter @BP Show. This is the Bill Press Show.
When I started learning about nutrition, about which, by the way, much less is known than you might think, I learned that what mattered most about one's health was not necessarily the nutrients, good or bad, that you were consuming or staying away from, or even the calorie counts. But what predicted a healthy diet more than anything else is the fact that it was being cooked by a human being and not a corporation. Corporations cook very differently than people do. They use vast amounts of salt, fat, and sugar, much more than you would ever use in your own cooking. And the reason they do that is those are three incredibly attractive and incredibly cheap ingredients. And when they're layered properly, as in a chip or pastries and forms of junk food, they're incredibly addictive. They really press our buttons. They activate our dopamine network, our cravings. And in fact, people in the industry, they don't talk about addiction in the food industry, even though they traffic in addiction. They talk about craveability. It's the same thing. And snackability is another term they use, which is a lovely word. And then the last point about corporate cooking that's important to understand is they cook different stuff than you do at home. What they're good at, in general, they don't cook that well, but things like chips, they cook incredibly well. And here's a classic food that if you make it yourself, if you've ever made French fries, you have to wash the potatoes, you have to peel the potatoes, you have to slice the potatoes, you have to fry them in a lot of oil, you have to spatter your entire stovetop, you have to clean up, and then you have this pot of oil you have to get rid of. I mean, it's really difficult, and it's a pain. They're wonderful, but it's a pain. And if you make them yourself, you'll only eat them every 6 weeks, 2 months, because it's too much work. But when you let corporations cook for you, it's so simple and so inexpensive, and they're really good, that you will have them twice a day, as many people in America do. So you see the kinds of foods you end up with are these labor-intensive foods and desserts. These special occasion foods become everyday foods when we let industry cook for us. Eat anything you want, just cook it yourself.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
The most valuable morning radio show, according to The Nation magazine. This is The Bill Press Show.
It is The Bill Press Show, 23 minutes past the hour. My name is Peter Ogburn, filling in for Bill Press today. We just talked to Sue Smith from the Butterball Talk Line. I have my own hotline for Thanksgiving hotline bling, right? I'm here for it. I'm ready for it. Yeah, put that up, Jamie. I like that. The turkey hotline bling. I got it. By the way, if you think I'm making it up, I was getting stuff on Twitter all weekend. I was helping people out left and right, Jack. I got your back. I'm here for you. 866-55-PRESS is our phone number if you have a comment or question about Thanksgiving or anything else. That's what Jessica from Caribou, Maine did. Hi, Jessica.
Hi, Peter.
Thank you so much for calling, my dear. What's happening?
Okay, couple questions for you. Since you have kids, do you use canned cranberry sauce or do you make your own?
Well, here's the deal. I do not love cranberry sauce, but I make my own little cranberry compote, but I also get a can of jellied cranberry sauce just to have out for tradition. And nobody eats it. I'm not kidding. I get a little can of it every year, and I put it out, and I slice it up into those blobby discs, and I put it out, and nobody touches it.
Well, it's good for the sandwiches the day after.
That's what I've heard, but I'm not a huge cranberry guy.
And here's the other question, but this one's for Jamie.
Oh, go ahead, Jamie.
Hey, Jessica.
Hi. When it comes to leftovers, how about introducing Peter to that northern Maine concept of ploys?
Say that again?
Ploys.
What's ploys?
I'm not hip.
He doesn't know what ploys are.
Wait a minute. You have a grandmother in northern Maine.
I know.
You don't know how to. She's got to send you a thing of ploys mix.
What's ploys?
And they are buckwheat pancakes, and they're flat. You only put them on one side, and then what you do is you roll up your leftovers in them, and you can just eat your leftover sandwich in your hand.
so it's like a kind of like a crepe situation.
Yes, it's a little heavier, though. It's not a crepe. It's a little heavier.
Sure,
but
sure.
It will hold gravy. It will hold.
It'll hold gravy. Wait, a sandwich bread that will hold gravy? What sort of engineering is this? I'm in love with it.
Floyd, and have Jamie's grandmother send you a bag of Floyd's mix, and you can even try it at Christmas time with your leftovers. They are a huge hit up here. In fact, when we have international sporting events, the foreign athletes, the European athletes get them because they can have anything they want rolled up into a sandwich and walk off and eat.
Ploys.
So
I love it.
Ploys, P as in Peter, Loyes, and have Jamie's grandmother who can buy a bag.
I got it.
Ploy mix at the supermarket. Send it down to you and follow the instructions.
Jamie's going up to Maine later this week.
And I promise to report back on Monday, Jessica. Thank you for letting me know.
Okay.
Thank you, Jessica. I appreciate it, my dear.
It's snowy up here, by the way.
Oh, I got to get prepared.
Yeah. Yeah, he's ready for. He's very fragile, Jamie. He's gonna have to get ready for it. You better bring me back some Ploys mix, Jamie.
I'm gonna do it.
I want some Ploys mix. I'll make some
It's
Ploys.
very innovative.
Wrap up a sandwich with gravy on it.
Huge.
I'm in love. Let's go to Bill in Deerfield, Wisconsin. Hey, Bill.
Hey, Peter. So you like the crispy skin? So do I.
Yep.
So I do a dry brine.
Yes. All right. This is what I needed to get out there. Go ahead, Bill.
Yeah. You get dry salt brine, and then about half an hour, 45 minutes before the bird goes in the oven, you resalt with a little bit of baking soda.
Whoa!
And that will open up the alkaline in the baking soda will open up and allow that salt to get into the skin, and it gives you the crispiest, crackliest skin. And of course, you go breast side down for the first 2/3.
I've heard this. Okay, I've never done that. But
then flip the bird back up, and that way the breast meat will stay nice and juicy.
All right.
And then that skin gets so crackling crunchy, it's fantastic.
Oh, that's a great tip. I've never heard of the baking soda trick. That's a good idea. When do you begin the dry brine, by the way? Does that happen the day before?
Well, you can do it the night before.
Sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
or early in the morning.
Okay. All right. Good to know. And it's just a salt brine, right? You just rub it with salt. Is there any sugar happening?
Then an hour or so before you put the bird in, then another salt mixed with the baking soda.
All right. I made a note. I might actually try that this year, Bill. Boy, I might mess up my tradition and put a little baking soda into the situation. All right. Thank you for the Thanksgiving calls. I appreciate those. The big day is later on this week. Taking your comments. I'll take these on my personal Twitter account at Peter Ogburn. I've been helping you out, but if you want to follow me or follow the show at BP Show, we're helping you out. Okay, so lots of politics stuff going on. We're going to switch gears, talk some more politics. Emily Schultis from the National Journal has been following the Democrats. So we're going to talk about Hillary and Bernie and maybe even this Martin O'Malley guy. Coming up next on the Bill Press Show. Plus, we'll also have time to run down some of the crazy, kooky, zany, nutty things that Donald Trump had to say over the weekend. Stay tuned. It's the Bill Press Show. My name is Peter Ogburn. I'm sitting in for Bill Press today. Very quick break.
This is the Bill Press Show.
This announcement.
I have run these canyons for 6 million years. I have traveled from the Rocky Mountains to the deserts, through scorching heat and freezing cold, from the land of the dinosaurs to fields of food.
I lend my hand to 7 states, 2 countries, 9 national parks,
and 36 million people across an arid West.
I am not the strongest or the largest, but I am the hardest working.
People love me.
My playfulness,
My beauty.
my power.
My life. But I don't think I can offer any more.
I am tired.
I am tired,
tapped,
and tied. Of the hundreds of major rivers in the world, I am one of the few who no longer kisses the sea.
Battles to harness my soul have been won and lost. Use me wisely, and I will sustain you.
Use me like you have, and I will break. My name
is
Red. The Grand River Red. The American Nile.
The Canyon Maker. I am the Colorado River.
And I am the most endangered river in America.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Streaming live video right now at youtube.com/TawkrTV. That's TAWKR-TV. This is The Bill Press Show.
Yes, it is The Bill Press Show. Peter Ogren in for Bill Press, 33 minutes past the hour. Okay, so first things first. A man's Bill, who called in at the end of that last segment, said that you got to do a little mix of salt and baking soda. He called back and said he was wrong. It was baking powder, not baking soda. Big difference, ladies and gentlemen. I think it's a great idea. I may try it, but it's baking powder, not baking soda. I'm going to make a note for myself so that I don't put the baking soda. It's baking powder, not baking soda. Okay, so we should be talking to Emily Schultis here from National Journal here in just a couple of moments. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the weekend that Donald Trump had, because, oh my goodness, what a weekend he had. This is just since we last spoke the other day. He said that we should set up a database for Muslims and give them an ID situation, right? There was a Black Lives Matter protester who was at his rally in Alabama, who was tossed to the ground, sort of roughed up, which Donald Trump said on Fox News. Maybe he should have been roughed up a little bit. You got that clip? Let's hear that clip.
I had 10,000 people in the room yesterday, 10,000 people, and this guy started screaming by himself, and they did, I don't know, rough up? Maybe he should have been roughed up.
Maybe he should have been roughed up, according to Donald Trump. Okay, he also said he's going to bring back waterboarding, right? If he was president. He said that on, ABC's This Week, I think it was, Jamie? Bring back waterboarding. Yeah, what a great idea. Can we hear that?
I would bring it back, yes, I would bring it back. I think waterboarding is peanuts compared to what they do to us, what they're doing to us, what they did to James Foley when they chopped off his head. That's a whole different level.
And he also said that Muslims in New Jersey were cheering as the towers came down on 9/11, which is 100% not true. Play that clip.
I know they don't like to talk about it, but it was well covered at the time. There were people over in New Jersey that were watching it, a heavy Arab population that were cheering as the buildings came down. Not good.
Like, there's not a word in that's true, right? That just flat out did not happen. So that's the weekend that Donald Trump had, just to catch you up, right? Just to let you know where we are this weekend, the weekend Trump. But let's talk about the other side of the aisle, because there's a lot of other good stuff happening that's not completely crazy from Donald Trump. And to do that is Emily Schultis, political reporter for National Journal, in studio. Hi, Emily.
Hi.
Thank you so much for coming in. Follow her on Twitter at EmilyRS and read her great work at nationaljournal.com. Okay, so let's start with Hillary Clinton, because she's been the one that's been farthest out there on ISIS and the ISIS plan.
Right.
What is her plan to defeat ISIS?
Well, so she outlined a lot of that in a speech last week. And essentially, I mean, what she is saying is not drastically different than what the president is doing, but she's sort of saying it with a lot more urgency. She's basically saying these are the right plans, and I think that we should follow some of these similar plans, but that we need to do it in a way that is more expedient than what the president's doing. So the walking this weird line between making sure that she's not totally contradicting President Obama on any of these things, but also making it clear that she could somehow do better.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that it was definitely reiterating what the president has said, but she did say it a lot clearer.
Right.
And it rang truer, I think, to a lot of people. I did love the John Podesta tweet that was like, steps we'll take to defeat ISIS. Number 1, defeat ISIS.
Yeah.
Okay.
They released a preview of their plan that morning, and it was 3 points, and that was point number 1.
Yeah.
Which,
Got it.
That would be great.
Yeah, I guess. I mean,
that would be my step number 1 too.
Yeah, exactly. So, in terms of the refugee situation, because she's also spoken about that as well, and we're going to focus on Hillary. We're going to move to Bernie, because some of the people who love Bernie are come at me. We're going to get to Bernie in a second. The refugee situation. Where does she stand on that? Because the president, I think, has sort of made his case, and he's sticking by it. But does she differ from him at all on that?
No, I mean, she said that she thinks that we should accept refugees. She has, called for careful screening of them, but she said that we should. So. And that is, when we get to Bernie, that's something that he is making a big issue of lately.
Well, let's talk about Bernie's stance on the refugees. Any difference, any daylight between him and Hillary Clinton?
Not specifically any daylight. He's using it, though, as a list-building opportunity. He's been emailing his supporters saying, sign here if you also agree that we should accept Syrian refugees, which I think is fascinating for a candidate who's not a foreign policy guy.
Yeah, no, I think that's really interesting. When we come down to the competition, because I mean it is really Hillary and Bernie. I'm sorry to the
no offense to Martin O'Malley,
the O'Malley heads out there, and both of you.
Yeah. There might be 3.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe he got that coveted Jim Webb supporter, or that Lane Chafee supporter.
There you go.
Where are we with the race between Hillary and Bernie, right? Because I think it got a little ugly there with Bernie saying, oh, maybe we'd take her as a VP candidate, which I think was really condescending and not a good look for a guy like Bernie Sanders. It seems like they've cooled off a little bit. So where are we now?
Well, I guess, from a reporter who covers them, from my perspective of getting press releases and emails from the campaigns and things, it really picked up after the second debate. Mm-hmm. So I'm getting things now from the Sanders campaign that are openly calling out Clinton on things, getting things from the Clinton team that actually reference Bernie Sanders, which she almost never did before this point. And so it actually feels like we're in the middle of a primary right now. I think given all the vitriol on the right, we've forgotten to a certain extent that the Democrats haven't really gone head to head in the same way.
Right.
And it feels like they're if not doing it themselves, that their campaigns are certainly in the place where they're willing to say each other's names now.
Yeah. No, that's. I mean, it seemed all kumbaya there for a second with the. I wanted to hear a bunch of damn emails.
Oh, that's a pretty good impression.
Thank you very much. See that, Jamie? It's not such a bad impression, my Bernie.
I think your Bernie impression's good.
I've been working on my Bernie. We're tired of reading a bunch of damn emails. I can't do it as good as
Your
Larry
Trump's
did.
pretty good, too.
I can't do a good Trump.
In fact, Jimmy Fallon does the best Trump.
Yeah, he does.
He does.
He does do a good Trump. All right, so let's take a quick break. I want to regroup, and then I'm going to come back and ask you a bunch of other things.
Right.
Emily Schultis is in studio from National Journal. She's a political reporter. Follow her on Twitter at EmilyRS and read her great work at nationaljournal.com. Very quick break. We'll be right back.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
This is why you took a second job. While you taught yourself how to fix the plumbing. While you'll do whatever it takes to keep your home. And that is why we want to help. We are making home affordable, a free government resource that can make paying the mortgage easier. Call 888-995-HOPE today.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is The Bill Press Show.
It is The Bill Press Show, 44 minutes past the hour. My name is Peter Ogden. I'm sitting in for Bill Press today. Joined by Emily Schultis from the National Journal in studio. Running the board is Jamie Benson. Hi, Jamie.
Hello, Peter.
You know, we get tweets at the show. Jamie gets tweets, too. In fact, he got this one from Angela C.P. Mills that says to Jamie, Oh, Lord, if I were 20 years younger.
What can I say?
Look at you.
Even in a Patriots jersey.
Look at
like
you
a schlub.
in that cheating-ass Tom Brady jersey. Congratulations, Jamie.
Thanks, Angela.
You still got it, buddy.
Whatever, Peter.
By the way, Emily, I'm gonna give you a very maybe controversial question.
All right.
Thanksgiving. Great holiday or greatest holiday?
I think it's the greatest holiday.
It's the greatest holiday. Thank you. Thank you.
You told me we weren't going to have this discussion anymore.
Oh, we're having the discussion. If I'm behind this mic, we're having the
You
discussion.
get to hang out with your family. You get to eat a bunch of food all at once.
The greatest.
Listen, Emily,
You
here's
don't have
what's
to buy people
important
gifts.
about this discussion. He
Go ahead.
thinks 4th of July is the second best holiday.
Mm.
I think Christmas is at least second, if not first.
I agree.
Nope.
Thank
I
you.
will say I'm not a huge Halloween fan. I also don't love New Year's.
Oh,
I know.
New Year's
I'm
is
just,
3. New Year's is number 3. Christmas is 4.
4?
Yeah.
4? Come on. Okay. I think I'm with Jamie on this one.
Yes.
Thanksgiving is
you
the
both
greatest.
You both win on one front or something.
That's fair. I love Thanksgiving. By the way, Thanksgiving hotline is open, right? Because we have gotten a lot of calls from people. Because I cook Thanksgiving by myself every year. It's one of my greatest pleasures in life. I did a lot of shopping yesterday.
Good.
Wouldn't let the kids come with me. It's just me because it's serious business.
Daddy time.
I'm like knocking old women out of the way so I can get my dark corn syrup to make my pecan pie. Yeah, it's a whole thing.
It happens.
All right, so let's talk. Let's talk. Where all have you been out on the road? By the way,
Ever or recently?
No. Let's talk about your vacations.
No, I meant campaign trails.
No, I'm talking about campaign stops here recently. Where all have you been? Who all have you been seeing?
So last week I was in Ohio, went out to a Bernie rally in Cleveland, which was pretty interesting, and did some other stuff while I was out there.
What are the Bernie crowds like these days? Are they still fired up, energetic, even though some of these polls show them they're still on board?
They still are. This was interesting though. So it was a week ago. It was last Monday, and it was at Cleveland State. So pretty heavily student audience, about 7,000 people. But he opened with talking about Paris and ISIS, and I think the crowd kind of didn't really know how to react to that because you go to a Bernie rally and you're going to get an hour and 10 minutes of of typical Bernie stump speech, and this was very
pretty
solemn
much the same
and,
stump speech, right?
Yes,
like it's the
pretty,
same thing.
Pretty close.
Yeah.
The man can talk. It is routinely more than an hour of him talking, but but this time I think it was interesting to see the way that the crowd reacted because it was something he needed to do after Paris.
Yeah.
He needed to address that, but to do it in that setting. I think they just kind of didn't know what they were getting.
When you look at sort of what's going on in the world with the Paris and the terror and the ISIS and stuff, I don't want to make this a political thing, but I mean they are having to talk about it in a political setting. When it comes to who has the advantage to that, I think it clearly goes to Hillary Clinton.
Right.
Bernie seems a little out of his element, right? I mean, how is she doing with handling that on the stump?
I mean, she this is her bread and butter, right? This is not that a tragic thing like this, but I just mean that she knows she spent 4 years being the face of the Obama administration's foreign policy, and you don't do that without feeling comfortable on a subject like this.
Yeah.
I think, frankly, she's probably a lot more comfortable on foreign policy than she is on some of the domestic stuff.
Yeah.
So Bernie is, he gave his big speech last week on the definition of democratic socialism.
That's what I ask you about next.
And he tacked on a section about foreign policy, I think thinking, well, we're going to give this big speech at Georgetown, this big policy thing. We might as well accomplish both things at once. But it felt like two very different speeches.
It's a pretty wide
kind of a
swing
bizarre,
there. Yeah. Talk about that speech because everybody just sort of just says, "Oh, Bernie's a socialist."
Right.
How did he lay that out?
Well, so he essentially said, I mean, mostly talking about FDR and the New Deal, but basically saying that his brand of democratic socialism is not much different than what FDR did at the time, and that the situation and the conditions in the country were the same then, and people called out the things that FDR was doing as socialist, and none of these things were considered, mainstream or normal at the time, but he did them anyway. And so it was, on one hand, an effort to just sort of explain what he meant by it, and on the other hand, also an effort to say, see, look, what I'm doing or what I want to do, it's not crazy. It's actually things that Democrats have been doing for decades. I just refer to myself this way.
It's interesting, though, that for so long people would sort of Republicans or opposition would throw the term socialist at a Democrat in such a bad way, but he's standing by it. How has Hillary Clinton reacted to the whole socialism bend of his campaign? I mean, is she using that against him or just letting it happen?
I think kind of just letting it happen. At least she hasn't gone out of her way. She sort of made a couple comments that are like, oh, well, Bernie's got his things. Not quite like that. But, that's the implication of a few of the things she said. But for the most part, no. I mean, I think thus far they've been pretty content to kind of let Bernie do his thing and to present their own things.
When's the next debate for Democrats?
December 19th.
December 19th, right?
So still a few weeks away.
Ambush
Saturday night before Christmas, man. You gotta plan for these things.
What are they doing? Where is it?
New Hampshire.
New Hampshire, okay.
So I will be watching that one remotely from my mom's house in California.
Good for you.
Yes.
Good for you, by the way. What's the deal with Martin O'Malley? Does he have any? I mean, is he going to get out anytime soon? Is he just going to keep limping along?
I don't know. I think it's.
He seems ready for this, right? Like he'd been planning for a long time, so he might have some staying power. But what?
Well, I mean, the difficulty is he's not one of the Republican candidates who has a massive super PAC behind him with millions of dollars. And he, at least to our knowledge thus far, has not raised a ton of money. And so when you see these stories coming out last week about Martin O'Malley is shifting his resources to Iowa from the national headquarters, that says that they're getting to the point where they can't do the things that they need to do.
Right.
So I at this point, we're 2.5 months out from, not even 2.5 months out from Iowa.
Yeah.
He might stick through Iowa and see how he does. I don't know if he doesn't somehow, get a whole lot of steam in the polls. There's not much hope beyond that. Because how do both the Hillary campaign and the Bernie campaign are starting to think very carefully about what happens in March and, getting volunteer networks in place and getting on the ballot in all 50 states and getting their signatures and all the things that you have to do beyond the early states. And I don't know how, if you're Martin O'Malley with limited resources, you even begin to have those conversations.
That's a good point. All right. Emily Schultis in studio from National Journal. Thank you so much for coming in. I really appreciate it.
Always fun to be here.
All right. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press today. Very quick break, and we'll be right back.
Get social with Bill Press. Like us at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
A few years ago, plastic bag waste in our city came to a tipping point. It was clear we had a bag problem. My department was tasked to reduce plastic bag consumption. We needed to come up with ways to change human behavior. So we asked ourselves,
Shall I get back?
What do people really hate?
Yep.
Getting punched in the stomach. Preliminary studies showed that the consequences weren't severe enough to warrant behavioral change.
Actually, can I get that double bagged?
So we thought, what do people hate more than getting punched in the stomach? Kissing Helga.
Hey, big boy.
People didn't find her so offensive after all, so we had to get creative.
How many bags
Okay, now, pour this ice water down your pants.
We tried everything.
Eat the threat. Defuse this bomb.
Even fighting your clone. After blowing through millions of dollars of government funds on research, I came up with a brilliant idea.
Why don't we just charge 5 cents per bag?
That's a stupid idea.
Would you like a bag?
Yes.
5 cents a bag.
5 cents? 5 cents? Do I still have the option of getting punched?
Honestly, I don't know how everyone else missed it.
Why don't you just get a reusable bag?
This is the Bill Press Show.
It is the Bill Press Show. 56 minutes past the hour. Thanks to Emily Schultis for coming in studio. Always great to get her in. Up next hour, boy, oh boy, do we have an hour ahead of us. Jeb Lund, columnist for The Guardian and for Rolling Stone, is going to be joining us. He warned us, by the way, that he's a stay-at-home dad and there might be a baby yowling in the background as we talk to him, which wouldn't be the first time, frankly. But I'm a big fan of his, and so I'm thrilled to get him on for the first time here on the show. And we may or may not be talking to Olivia Nuzzi from the Daily Beast. So I have to play this clip because we talked about all the crazy things that Donald Trump has said over the weekend, and we'll talk about him some more. But I want to play this Marco Rubio clip because this is something that we hit on with Elias Isquith earlier about how Marco Rubio feels that he has to sort of out-Trump Trump. And Rubio over the weekend was talking about the Paris attacks, and just listen to how he gets into this conversation.
As far as national security, let me just say I obviously am not happy about the events that happened last week in Paris, but I think it's a
Wait, stop the tape. I'm not happy about the events that happened in Paris, but, nope. Stop there. Don't even, when you start in with, I'm not happy about a terrorist attack, but it's going to be bad. Let's hear the whole clip again.
But I think it's a positive development that suddenly has forced Americans to confront more carefully the issue of national security.
Are you kidding? What a horrible answer to the question about Paris. You think it's a positive development? This is like gets back to the whole conspiracy theory of the folks that were surrounding Bush, right? Like they needed a big terror attack, a big assault on America in order to sell an invasion of Iraq, right? Like this is along those lines. We needed this bad thing to happen so that we can start persecuting Muslims. Or we need this bad thing to happen so that we can start turning away refugees and people who aren't white from coming to America, right? Like that's what this sounds like. What? How's that wrong? Jeb Lund from The Guardian. It's coming up at the top of the next hour. My name is Peter Ogburn. I'm sitting in for Bill Press today with plenty of time on the show today. Stay tuned.
This is the Bill Press Show.
The hardest moments for me is when I'm laying awake in the middle of the night and I'm thinking about all the times I made a pitcher of Kool-Aid with the water, or I boiled a pot of corn or potatoes with the water. Those thoughts just stick with me in the middle of the night, and I feel horrible as a mom that I didn't know that something was wrong, but how could I have known? There's no way I would have known.
The spill at Dan River happened when a drainage pipe
that ran underneath an ash basin and dam collapsed, sucking out 6 decades of waste and spewing gunk directly into the river.
My husband and I just kind of looked at each other like, should we be concerned? We live right next to an ash pond, and this was coal ash spilling into the Dan River, and we learned at that point all of the toxins that were included in coal ash.
A situation like Dan River, where there was a catastrophic disaster, gets people's attention, but the fact is that these coal ash pits have been leaking and poisoning people's groundwater and the state's surface waters for decades. Coal ash is the residue left behind after coal is burned in a coal-fired power plant. A large coal-fired power plant can burn 10 million tons of coal a year. When the organic matter in the coal is burned away, what's left behind are these trace minerals, things like arsenic, lead, mercury, selenium, and chromium. And these are highly concentrated. The coal ash can have concentrations of these contaminants that are 10 to 100 times greater than the level in the coals themselves.
Coal ash pond number 1 is right behind my house, literally pretty much in my backyard. We were approached by a neighbor who was wanting to have their well tested, and we decided that maybe we should have ours tested as well. They found hexavalent chromium at 4.5 parts per billion.
So in talking to the residents, we have discovered anecdotal evidence of an extraordinary number of cancers for this fairly small community.
Some of us in the community got together. We started kind of talking about all the cancer that we've seen in some of our family friends in this community. I think we had somewhere in the neighborhood of around 70 names. So we had some help from our river keepers putting a map together, and it was a little shocking to see it. You know, I still have a hard time looking at it.
Technically, EPA has not regulated coal ash as a hazardous waste, but it is undeniable that coal ash contains many, many hazardous substances that are hazardous, in fact, to people and the environment. And the only reason they have not been regulated as such is because of intense lobbying efforts by the coal industry and its allies.
A lot of these chemicals are simple elements, but when you find them at the levels that they exist in around coal ash ponds, then you're starting to talk about cancer, brain tumors, you're talking about birth defects, developmental problems, neurotoxicity.
We began to look at legal options, cases that we could bring in court to protect communities and their citizens from these toxic leaking time bombs. In 2002, North Carolina enacted a public financing mechanism for judicial elections. This kept private money out of judicial elections.
The repeal of the public financing program in judicial elections in North Carolina creates a dangerous precedent for all, and it gives corporate polluters and other special interests the opportunity to elect the judges that they want. And this is important for us all. Everyone should care about this, because when you think about the fact that the state and the federal government have basically abdicated their responsibility to regulate these issues, the state courts are the last stopgap.
I think this is no longer a problem that's going to go under the radar. It has been exposed, and I am confident that we will ultimately, with the facts, win out and ensure that we have protected waterways.
And so this is something that we all should care about. If we're worried about the water we drink and the air we breathe, we have to be concerned about money in judicial elections.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. At highway speeds, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Stop the texts, stop the wrecks.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
It is The Bill Press Show, top of the third hour on this Monday, November 23rd. Thank you so much for joining us here on the program. My name is Peter Ogburn. I'm sitting in for Bill Press today while he's away for the holiday. Bill's tradition, which is great, is every Thanksgiving he leaves the country. Like I think last year he went to Cuba. Now he's in Spain. He just gets out of Dodge. And I applaud that. I have no problem with that. But that means you're stuck with me for today. And a cavalcade of network stars will be joining us for the rest of the week. And some great programming on Thanksgiving Day, the greatest holiday. You can find us on YouTube at youtube.com/TawkrTV, TAWKR-TV. You can follow us on Twitter at BP Show. You can watch the show on Free Speech TV, on DirecTV and Dish Network, and heard on your favorite progressive talk radio station anywhere in the country. Also on the iHeartRadio app and the TuneIn app. I'm done shilling. That's enough. But you could find us in all those great places. Running the board is Jamie Benson in his cheating-ass Tom Brady jersey today. I'm surprised nobody has flamed you yet for wearing a Tom Brady jersey, besides me.
Just love letters on Twitter, and
yeah.
It's just nice phone calls up from my home state of Maine. It's a good day. It's a
Who
good
do they
morning.
play tonight? Who do they play tonight?
Rex Ryan and the Buffalo Bills.
You know, they're bound to lose a game. They're not going to go undefeated.
It's a divisional matchup. So, if there is a game they lose, this is one of those matchups.
For my sake, I hope they don't lose tonight, because that means you're going to come in erect tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone tweeted last night, this is a joke, if Carolina and New England meet in the Super Bowl, all that controversy going on with Cam Newton, the mother writing into the Charlotte Observer, it ignites the great race war of 2015.
Good God. Ugh.
I don't know.
Gross.
It's a bit of a stretch.
Football is kind of just gross in general. Like, I don't watch any of the NFL stuff. It's just terrible.
I think next few years you might see... it might get so bad that we might start.
I think you're right.
Revolt.
By the way, I don't watch any NFL anymore. I'll read about it, but I can't watch that crap.
It's because you don't have a good team.
866-55-PRESS is our phone number. 866-557-7377. If you call that number, you will talk to Ray Rogers, who is standing by to take your calls on any topic at any time. I have opened up the Thanksgiving hotline. Right, if anybody has any questions, I'm here to help. I do it every year. I cook Thanksgiving, and it is one of my greatest pleasures in life. I mentioned we're on TV. We are on TV because of the great work of Cyprian Bolding, keeping us live on the television on youtube.com/TawkrTV and Free Speech TV. And I'm thrilled to join or to have our next guest join us. We've never had him on the show, remarkably. Jeb Lund, he's a columnist for The Guardian and Rolling Stone, an absolute must follow on Twitter at Mabute. Jeb, thank you so much for getting up and doing this, man. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. Somehow I managed.
All right, so I want to talk. You wrote about the two frontrunners for the Republican nomination recently, Ben Carson and Donald Trump's. I want to talk first about Ben Carson because the headline, I think, says a lot. What the hell is going on with Ben Carson? What the hell is going on with Ben Carson?
Well, I mean that was well. I mean, where do you start? I mean, do you want like a rundown of what he's been doing, or you know where I came from with that headline?
Well, let's talk about where you came from with that headline specifically.
Well, that was you write like sort of little dribs and drabs about people because they've done a certain thing in the news cycle. You know, this event happened. What does it mean? This event happened. What does it mean? And what I did was I went to a wedding, and you know, usually like if you're a journalist. You know, if you have a profession, you always get these sort of questions from people about, related to it. So if you're a doctor and you're around like at a convention or something, you introduce yourself to 20 people, and then finally you get to like person 21, and you say, I'm a doctor, and this person says, well, I got this thing with my shoulder. And
yeah.
And like the journalist one, that happens, I think, usually from, introduction number one is, oh, you're a journalist. Well, here's what you should really be writing about.
That's right.
And like, my long-term pain management doctor is a like an Obamacare truther. So like, whenever I go in, he starts to tell me about Obamacare and like some sort of new thing he got in an email forward. I just sort of have to grit my teeth through it because he's the person with the drugs.
It's really hard to argue with a guy that with your pusher. Yeah.
Yeah. So. But so I'd gone to this wedding, and rather than, get the, what you really ought to write about, I got every single person who's like, what the hell is up with Ben Carson? and just this kind of like global bewilderment that this man is prospering in this field where you have so many candidates who each sort of have their niche. And he seems to be, in spite of this incredible biography and really enviable and all to his credit, seems to be the least intelligent of all of them.
Yeah. Yeah, I've said before, he's the dumbest genius we've ever had in this country because he's a certified genius when you look at his accomplishments as a doctor, but he's an idiot. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
Yeah, and so that was, I started thinking about that, and years ago I worked as a legal videographer, so I'd sit in the room with all these really high-paid attorneys and arguing these like really fantastic, sometimes very fascinating cases, and I would just sort of sit there with a notepad and sometimes and just listen and then, we'd go off the record. We'd stop talking about the case, and these guys, somebody would ask these guys a question about college football, and it would just be the answer would just be the dumbest thing I'd ever heard. Like, you could watch nothing but ESPN and still come away smarter about college football. I grew up with doctors in the family, and I grew up, hearing them complain, and it sounded like a similar phenomenon, like sort of the ace surgeon as opposed to like the ace attorney, where you get this incredible dose of specialized knowledge.
Yeah.
That, sets you so far and away apart from the average human being, and then, that expertise starts to warp your brain. Mm. Sort of like you get the hotshot attorney. He's like, well, listen, I know law. I know the source code for all of civilization. Any problem I encounter, I can see that through that, like the Matrix. I can see the law underneath it, and I can just craft a response. And it's like, no, dude, we're talking about college football. It doesn't work.
Right.
And say in this case, and then the doctor one, and that just seemed to be kind of his vibe. Like, Ben Carson has not heard the word no in 25 years.
Right.
Ben Carson walks into work, and he can start talking about anything, and everyone's job is to just shut up and listen.
He has a painting of him with Jesus in his house. Like, that's the craziest thing in the world. Like, imagine trying to have a conversation with someone who has a painting of them and Jesus Christ up on the wall in their home. Can you imagine what that would be like?
It looks like sort of a 70s kind of like folk rock album cover. It's like a Captain and Tennille, but with Ben Carson.
Jesus like quietly puts his hand on Ben Carson's shoulder for the painting. Yeah, like there's no reasoning with someone who thinks that's acceptable behavior. But Jeb, at the same time, this guy is second in most polls. It was at the top of a couple polls not that long ago. What's the appeal of a guy like Ben Carson? What do people see in him?
I think he has a huge appeal to evangelical voters, and I think part of it is that that kind of the soft-spokenness evokes this sort of humility, and then which is very attractive, and then there's his redemptive story. And sort of like the exaggerations he has about his past that have turned out to be, in many cases, not true at all, kind of fit in with those redemptive narratives that you hear in evangelical Christianity. Like it's more profound that you found Jesus if you've gone on this tremendous journey. And the best way to kind of do that is you push the person you were before sort of further and further away from Jesus. So there's that, and that works too, because evangelical voters, they're used to proselytizing, they're used to reaching out, and if you can kind of tap into them, they'll do a lot of legwork on your behalf. And sort of his campaign and the burn rate that he currently has of going through direct mail, that sort of taps into that voter, and that we may wind up on the day after the Iowa caucus, kind of going, well, we misunderestimated him. But there's that, and then I think there's this sort of general the sort of anti-knowledge part of movement conservatism. He doesn't seem to be afraid to start talking about something without having done the reading, and then when somebody says you haven't done the reading, he says, "How dare you? That's so rude."
Right.
And that kind of fits in with anybody who tells me a fact is some kind of elite know-it-all.
It's a gotcha question. Yeah. These gotcha facts.
Yeah, political correctness going from meaning don't be uncivil to other human beings and try to use the most polite terminology you can around them, to meaning the demonization of knowledge, or my own lived experience by elites who are trying to superimpose this sort of program of crazy stuff called data.
Yeah, right. By the way, you're talking about the evangelicals. We'll get to Donald Trump here in just a second. Did you see this story about Ted Cruz with his national prayer team? Ted Cruz has assembled a national prayer team in his campaign, and their chief job is to pray for Ted Cruz and that he makes wise decisions and that they guide him into the White House. He's appointed a team to pray for him. You talk about the hubris of some of these evangelicals running for president, man. Can you imagine?
Did he peel any of those people away from Kasich's department of Christian feelings that they were going to
That's right. That's right. Yeah. All the great culture and art that's come out of Christianity that Kasich wants to share with the world.
Yeah. No. So I wonder if there's going to be any sort of bleed over, or can those guys serve two masters at once? I mean,
it's a good question.
Yeah, I just want to know, Radio Free Europe, but for sort of lamentations and wailing.
Let's talk about Donald Trump, the front runner. He had himself quite a weekend. I mean, we only have time to talk about a couple of them because he stepped in it so many times. But I think one of the dumbest, weirdest things he said was how he was in New Jersey and saw Muslims cheering when the towers fell on 9/11, which has been thoroughly debunked. Even before he said it, right? I mean, people have been written about this for years and years and years, but people just had to point out again that that's just not true. But he's not backing down from it.
Yeah, I mean, I made a crack and wrote a thing about it for today, and hopefully it makes it in. But I mean, he really just needs to change his campaign website to Snopes.com because every single one of these things is something I'm pretty sure I saw so long ago. It was on a website where you had to click a button to choose whether you wanted to view it with or without frames, and then got asked to sign a guest book.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, between that and then that wild racist thing he tweeted last night about how 97% of crime is black on black crime, which comes, by the way, from a neo-Nazi organization. And last time I checked, it's still up on his timeline. I mean, all of these things are pretty easily debunked.
Well, what I think is interesting is I think that sort of plays into sort of the same thing that Carson is dealing with, and Carson is capitalizing on. If you live, in an intellectual climate where what is true is not necessarily factual. What is true is something that's sort of more personal, if you want to use evangelical terms, that it's been revealed to you, right? Or if it's something that, if truth is something that is felt and not necessarily something that's been recorded, then whenever there's a discrepancy between you and the record, it's history that's being deficient. And Trump seems, both of them seem to have tapped into this sense of did Muslims cheer when the towers came down? Well, Carson didn't explicitly say that, but it's the attitude being did Muslims do that? Well, factually, no, but that must be right, right?
I'm sure it happened.
Like, it almost doesn't matter for Trump that didn't happen, because what he's doing is illustrating for his followers what we all know, what they all know, that Muslim Americans were really doing on the inside on 9/11. So yeah, it's not factually accurate, but fundamentally it's true.
Yeah,
and that can, that can keep them going for a long time. And so, ultimately, I mean, I think that for both of them, it's not so much what they're doing; it's going to be what they eventually talk about that is going to conflict with individual voters. If all truth is sort of personal, eventually they're going to say something that some voters' version of anti-fact or anti-knowledge is going to conflict with. For Carson, it seems to be finally that he doesn't know enough about foreign policy.
Right.
So everybody else is making stuff up, but he's not making stuff up ably enough for the Iowa voter.
All right, Jeb Lund, columnist for The Guardian and Rolling Stone. Follow him on Twitter at Mabute, a tremendous Twitter follower. I can't recommend it enough. Go follow him. And thanks for coming on the show, man. Hope to get you back in soon.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, Jeb Lund here on the Bill Press Show. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press today. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Follow us on Twitter at BP Show. This is the Bill Press Show.
So this is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
Eye cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing down, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan. Thank you. And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you. Oh, man. Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
Streaming live video right now at youtube.com/TawkrTV. That's TAWKR-TV. This is The Bill Press Show.
Yes, indeed. Here we are on a Monday. Gonna feel like a Wednesday, though, because Thursday is Thanksgiving. We got a couple of guest hosts in this week, including me. We're gonna have Jimmy Williams in tomorrow. We're gonna have Clinton Haight Yates in on Wednesday. We're gonna have some special programming on Thursday and Friday you don't want to miss on the Big Turkey Day. What do you got to say in there? You got something you want to say?
No, I'm good.
You got something? You look like you're about to say something in there.
I'm pondering.
You think about that pie, that Thanksgiving pie?
I'm thinking about the sweet potato pies. I'm thinking about the patty pies.
I went again to go get the patty pie yesterday. I tried on Thursday of last week. They had no patty pies. I went again yesterday because the Wall Market is right up there by Wegmans where I go. Mm-hmm. Shout out to Wegmans, the greatest. And I went to go check. They had no patty pies. So I think we're just.
I'm thinking they're going to be easier to find in Maine.
Yeah, I think you might be right.
It's a different demographic.
I think you might be right. You know, but all the talk about the patty pies got me thinking I might make I've never made a sweet potato pie.
I've never had a sweet potato pie.
Listen to Cyprian. Cyprian, wow. I love sweet potato pie. My grandma made a good sweet potato pie. I go every Thanksgiving, I make a pumpkin cheesecake. Oh, I'm sorry.
It's a little basic of you.
Don't say anything about my pumpkin cheesecake, bitch. My pumpkin cheesecake is mad delicious, and I was going to bring some in for you, but maybe I won't.
All right.
Maybe Ray and Cyprian will just have to tell you.
What do you use in the crust?
How it is. I make a graham cracker crust with pecans.
Okay, now I'm intrigued.
I get some graham crackers, I crush them up, hit it with the butter and some crushed up pecans, put them in my little springform pan, and make a pumpkin cheesecake. And it's delicious. Mm-hmm. And you won't know. And I'm going to make a pecan pie because pecan pie is the king of holiday pies. No chocolate or people make a bourbon pecan pie. I'm not here for that. I like a straight up corn syrup pecan pie. I made like a maple pecan pie once, which was fine, but I got to go with that corn syrup, man. That's the way to do it. By the way, congratulations to the new governor of Louisiana, John Bel Edwards. This news is music to my ears because David Vitter ran a horrible, racist campaign towards the end of this campaign in Louisiana, talking about the refugees and the danger they pose to Louisiana. He got crushed by John Bel Edwards. He got beat so bad, David Vitter, he's retiring from the Senate in 2016. Like, he can't even serve as senator anymore. He got so embarrassed. So good for John Bel Edwards. And by the way, the key issue here was all about the citizens of Louisiana keeping their Obamacare. Not one. Olivia Nuzzi from the Daily Beast joins us next on the Bill Press Show.
This is the Bill Press Show.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. At highway speeds, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Stop the texts, stop the wrecks.
Before now, it's been difficult for criminals like us to know which states have loose gun laws. How would a criminal like me know which states permit me to carry loaded guns in their amusement parks, golf courses, or beaches?
I have some violent friends. We all wear leather jackets and scream at women. And we want to find out which states we can buy and sell guns easily.
CrimAdvisor.com. That's the site to find out where it's easiest for felons and fugitives to buy, carry, and even traffic guns.
That's why I love Arizona, where I can go see the beautiful Grand Canyon and carry a loaded gun without even having to get a background check.
You would fail that background check.
I'm sure of it. Now, what about a road trip? What states can I go to fill my trunk with guns and take it back home for my even more dangerous friends?
Crime Advisor has a list for that.
That's so unreasonable.
Our traffickers' top 10.
Nevada. What happens in Vegas may have to stay in Vegas, but your guns don't. Bring them over to California and sell them.
The market up there is hungry. Hungry for guns.
I understand that CrimeAdvisor.com will tell me which states really cater to us criminals and creeps, but what about the states where we're not so welcome? The ones that don't get us?
I don't even like saying the name of these states, but California, Connecticut, Maryland, and New York all have laws to keep guns out of the hands of people like us.
I want to shoot California so bad.
Boo, California.
Boo, go home. Wow. CrimeAdvisor.com has all this information?
Sure does.
CrimeAdvisor.com. Plan your perfect getaway. Oh, like TripAdvisor.
Oh.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
What the frack?
What the frack?
What the frack?
What the frack?
President Obama, are you fracking kidding me?
Reopen the EPA studies. In Texas, Wyoming, and Pennsylvania.
Fracking pollutes our oceans.
Fracking poisons our water.
Fracking makes climate change worse.
Fracking relies on toxic chemicals that cause cancer.
Ban fracking now.
Ban fracking now.
Go on. Ban it.
Ban fracking now. Please.
So make a pledge. Tutor a child who needs help. Mentor a kid who needs someone on their side. Volunteer to read to children. Because the path to success or failure starts long before graduation day. And the difference between
the most valuable morning radio show, according to The Nation magazine. This is The Bill Press Show.
It is The Bill Press Show, 33 minutes past the hour. My name is Peter Ogburn, filling in for Bill Press today. Cyprian Bolding, Ray Rogers, and Rusty on the board in there. Monday, November 23rd, Thanksgiving week. I'm ready for this. I'm ready for Thanksgiving. I have opened up the Thanksgiving hotline, as I have done just about every break. If you have any questions about how to cook for Thanksgiving, I'm your guy. I'm a food writer as well as a phenomenal producer and fill-in host, Jamie. So I'm here to help.
I'm just gonna hide under the board.
Yeah, you're doing a great job in there, by the way. You know what it is? It's that Tom Brady jersey you're wearing. All right? Yeah, that's what's happening. All right, 34 minutes past the hour. Let's talk to Olivia Nuzzi, political reporter for the Daily Beast, who joins us on the telephone. Hi, Olivia.
Hi, Peter. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being on the phone today. Let's talk about the weekend that Donald Trump had. because, it's gross. It's just a gross weekend for politics for him. He sort of hinted that he would set up a database for Muslims. He said that a Black Lives Matter protester should have been roughed up at his rally, where a Black Lives Matter protester was, in fact, roughed up. He said he'd bring back waterboarding. He said that Muslims were cheering when the towers fell on 9/11. He tweeted a racist meme on crime statistics that came from a neo-Nazi website. He said that he would have surveillance on mosques. All in one weekend. A pretty busy weekend there for Donald Trump, right?
Yeah, I don't know how he got in any time to sleep or eat. Even by Donald Trump standards, this weekend was pretty bad.
Yeah.
I think that calling for violence against people protesting him is probably the worst thing he's done so far during the course of the campaign. And I think it's very alarming that is his position on someone getting roughed up at one of his rallies. And I think if this keeps happening, if he keeps going up in the polls and keeps having these overcrowded rallies where people are obviously going to be protesting against him, that's a really dangerous mindset to have. That it's a good thing if people are punching people who oppose you at your events. I thought it was pretty shocking, even by Donald Trump standards. And then claiming that Muslims were applauding in Jersey City on 9/11. Then he claimed that he actually didn't really see it in person, like it sounded like during his speech in Alabama, but he just saw it on TV. But there's no footage of that. I mean, if you look for it, you can find some footage of Muslims cheering in Middle Eastern countries that was shown at the time, but there's nothing from New Jersey. And Jersey City is not that big. It's got about 300,000 people. So if thousands of Jersey City residents took to the streets to cheer on 9/11, you would have heard about it.
Yeah, we would have absolutely known about that. But the thing that really bothers me about all this is I don't think any of this is going to hurt Donald Trump at all. I think this
not at all.
This is his brand.
Everything that he does that people have thought for the last 4 months is going to finally be the thing that sinks him, has proved to just make him stronger. Even the Paris attacks, he's the only politician who has benefited in the polls in the wake of the Paris attacks, because he's the only one who's using this, frankly, crazy nativist rhetoric in response. And I don't think that there's anything that he could say that is really going to make people change their minds about him. What they like about him is that he says horrible, disgusting, violent things.
Yeah. So, let me just ask you this. At what point does this get to be too much for the Republican Party, or will we get to that point?
I have no idea. What do they even do? They don't have another candidate who is strong enough to take Trump down. Right. I think all of their strategies are just, at some point Trump will collapse, but they don't know how that's going to happen. So they're just hoping that when Trump collapses, they'll be able to get a word in edgewise. They'll be able to rise in the polls because people will start to pay attention to them. But I don't think that anyone knows what it's going to take for Trump to collapse. And I don't know what the Republican Party does. Do they decide that he can't be on the ballot as a Republican? Right. At what point is he being too racist and too crazy for the Republican Party to say no? I was thinking, because I read a piece about Lyndon LaRouche last week, and the Democratic Party several times said, no, he cannot run as Democrat. He's too anti-Semitic. He's too homophobic. We won't be associated with him. And I wonder at what point is that going to happen, or if at all, with Donald Trump.
It's to me, for Republicans, right? I think that they have a stereotype, and I think that, unfairly, that, the Republican Party is racist, xenophobic, and they make stuff up. But if they get to a point where Donald Trump is the nominee, the Republican Party, the head of the face of the Republican Party, will be someone who is racist, xenophobic, and makes stuff up.
It's not helping the Republican brand to have Trump now in his 4th month, is it, as the front runner?
Yep.
When you meet Tea Party folks, out and about, they're very upset always that they are considered racist, that they feel like they've been, mischaracterized by the mainstream media. But it does not help the case that they are not racist or that they are not intolerant people when the front runner of their party is Donald Trump.
You get bonus points for working in lamestream media, by the way. That's our word of the day. You totally.
Thank you. That was my goal this morning.
So let's
work in Pizza Rat now.
Let's move away from Donald Trump for a second and talk about some of the second place, right? Because we see like Ben Carson, Ted Cruz, but I want to talk about Marco Rubio for a second because Marco Rubio didn't exactly have a great weekend either. It just, sort of got lost in the Trump shuffle. I mean, he sort of advocated for surveillance of places where Muslims gather, where Donald Trump said we should surveil mosques. Marco Rubio, I guess, is trying to play follow the leader and took it one step farther.
Yeah, I think Marco Rubio is doing what we see a lot of candidates doing now. I think we saw it with Ted Cruz. We saw it with Jeb Bush last week, where they're trying to just say something that sounds extreme enough when compared to Donald Trump without going full-blown racist, without saying the sort of crazy things he says. They still don't want to look weak in comparison, so they say things like Marco Rubio is saying. I mean, he has an ad out today where he warns that an attack like happened in Paris could happen here. I don't remember in my lifetime ever seeing someone use a terror attack so blatantly for their political benefit like this. I don't know if you've seen the ad yet, but I mean, it's really grotesque. And yesterday he got a lot of flack for saying that he benefited politically from the Paris terror. I mean, granted, he was asked about it when he was on Fox. He was asked whether or not he had benefited politically, and he said he sort of phrased it in a very not delicate way, where he said, it's never good that something like this happens. I'm not happy that it happened, but
Pause.
I am
Stop there.
The polls. I'm happy that the conversation is turning to something more serious. But that said, if you look at the post-Paris polls, there's no indication that anyone besides Donald Trump is benefiting. I mean, everyone says that people are going to get more serious now. They're going to care more about national security. But, I mean, no one, Jeb Bush, says he wants to send boots on the ground. Obviously, Lindsey Graham wants to send boots on the ground. Rand Paul is calling for the complete opposite of that. He doesn't want to put boots on the ground. Nobody cares about the specific plans that these candidates have. They just want this type of shouting rhetoric, I guess, that Donald Trump is offering.
That's where we are. That's the state of where we are in politics. I think that sums it up. Olivia Nuzzi. Thank you very much for joining us, Olivia. Follow her on Twitter at Olivia Nuzzi, Nuzzi. A wonderful follow on Twitter, and read her great work at thedailybeast.com. Olivia, thank you so much.
Thanks, Peter.
Talk to you next time. All right. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press today. Let's take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Get social with Bill Press. Like us at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
It is possible to read the history of this country as one long struggle to extend the liberties established in our Constitution to everyone in America. In other words, who, according to our laws and culture, gets to be considered a person? The law creates legal personhood, and movements create law and change culture. So, how have the courts passed laws to shape our culture? That history goes way back before Citizens United. 1819, Dartmouth College versus Woodward, Supreme Court case, turned a corporate charter from a government-granted charter to a contract. This ruling gave corporations standing within the Constitution. 1886, Santa Clara County versus Southern Pacific Railroad. Though the court did not rule on corporate personhood, the decision was subsequently cited as a precedent to hold that a private corporation is entitled to the same 14th Amendment rights of due process and equal protection as human beings. This makes it impossible for us to make laws that treat local businesses any differently than giant multinational corporations, even if their business practices are deemed to be harmful to workers, the environment and communities, or if they have a history of violating the law. Hale versus Henkel, 1906. The court granted corporations the Fourth Amendment search and seizure protection. Dodge versus Ford Motor Company, 1919. The Michigan Supreme Court says the business corporation is organized and carried on primarily for the profit of the stockholders. Stockholder primacy is established. The purpose of the corporation, according to the court, is no longer to serve the public good, as it had been. It is now to maximize profit for shareholders above all else. Pennsylvania Coal Company versus Mahon, 1922. Corporations get the Fifth Amendment takings clause, meaning if you pass a regulation that impacts a corporation's ability to make a profit, that is deemed a taking, and they can sue for the right to future profits lost. This creates a chilling effect, and local and state governments become much more hesitant to pass laws in the public interest for fear that corporations can claim loss of potential profits that cities and states will be on the hook to pay. Buckley versus Vallejo, 1976. The Supreme Court rules that spending money to influence elections is protected under the First Amendment, in effect saying that money is speech. Citizens United versus Federal Election Commission, 2010.
Today, the Supreme Court of Chief Justice John Roberts declared that because of the alchemy of its 19th century predecessors in deciding that corporations had all the rights of people, any restrictions on how these corporate beings spend their money on political advertising are unconstitutional.
The court's ruling threatens to undermine the integrity of elected institutions across the nation. It's a rejection of the common sense of the American people.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Indeed, it is The Bill Press Show, 45 minutes past the hour. My name is Peter Ogburn. I am here for Bill Press today. In front of the board is Jamie Benson. By the way, all this Trump talk, we talked a lot about Trumps with Olivia Nuzzi there and with Jeb Lund earlier in the hour. You know, it certainly hasn't hurt his poll numbers. In New Hampshire, the CBS poll has him up 32 points. You know what second place is? Marco Rubio with 13. 13. 20 points difference almost is what we're looking at. I saw an Iowa poll where he's up 10 points over Ted Cruz, 31 to 21, I think, or maybe 22. It was like a 9-point lead. And nationally, he's still number one. We're going to the fourth month of Trump being number one in the majority of the polls. And the thing that's interesting to me about this is we've seen things come and go. We saw Carly Fiorina have her moment. You know, Jeb Bush, even at the beginning, was at the top of some polls until people kind of look at him. My goodness. And the tire fire that is that campaign. Ben Carson is still sort of a contender. I think Ted Cruz is having his moment right now. I don't know how real it is. I don't think it's real at all, frankly. But Marco Rubio seems to be the sort of the grown-up in the room. But as I tweeted out earlier, our friend Elias Isquith had a whole piece on Marco Rubio and his Islamophobia and his trying to piggyback on Donald Trump. So, interesting times. And by the way, if you missed it over the weekend, David Vitter, who was running for governor of Louisiana, is no more. He got defeated by John Bel Edwards, and defeated in a big way, I should point out. It was so bad, in fact, that David Vitter said, I'm not going to run for Senate again. He's going to serve out his seat in the Senate, and then he's done. Now, don't cry for David Vitter. He'll end up getting a cushy lobbying job, I'm sure. We'll still see him around here. But it's nice to see him out of politics. It's very nice to see him out of politics. 48 minutes past the hour. If you're just tuning in, you know, Jamie was loving to hate on my pumpkin cheesecake because it's basic. I love pumpkin cheesecake. I love my pumpkin cheesecake.
I'm sure you make a pumpkin cheesecake much better than any other basic you-know-what could.
If only I could put into words how much I love cheesecake. If only I had the vocabulary to put into words how much I love. You know what? I'm going to let Future do it for me.
Do you like cheesecake at all?
I love cheesecake. I love cheesecake at nighttime, real late at night.
Real late at
cheesecake could do, man. Top it off before you go to sleep.
What flavor of cheesecake do you like, Future?
Just the regular one, original.
What does that taste like? Just full-on cheese?
Oh, come on.
Nah, it tastes like cheesecake. Sensational.
Sensational.
That's the word you're looking for.
Yes.
Exactly.
That's it. By the way, what kind of host is interviewing this guy? He doesn't know what cheesecake is. What does that taste like? Just straight up cheese?
Nardwuar is the best.
I don't know, dude.
Nardwuar is Canadian. He has this crazy long red hair, curly red hair.
Yeah.
Wears like a Scottish kilt thingy, weird plaid, whatever. and he just interviews rappers and asks them the most out there questions. Like, why would you be asking Future about cheesecake?
Yeah. He knows what he's talking about with the cheesecake.
Yeah. But Future is, by the way, for our listeners who may not know.
Go ahead. You should, enlighten us, Jay.
Wildly popular Atlanta-based rapper who makes terrible music.
Yeah, bad music.
But is just so entertaining on the internet, so he can stay.
Yeah, I like him. I don't love his music, but I like him enough. Yeah. By the way, I want to get the first two clips you played this morning, Jamie, of Joseph Biden, our vice president. You know, it's an interesting thing. The president does his weekly radio address every week. And I know, we don't always play it, we don't always listen to it, but it's a good thing. I like this. It's just a little address of something he wants to talk about or something that he's hitting on. But the president, as we know, is traveling, so he didn't get a chance to do one, so he handed it over to Jables. Joe Biden gets the call, and he gets in there to talk about ISIS.
The world is united in our resolve to end their evil, and the only thing ISIL can do is spread terror in hopes that we will in turn on ourselves. We will betray our ideals and take actions motivated by fear that will drive more recruits into the arms of ISIL.
And Joe Biden also talking about the refugees. Now, this is much needed, by the way, because there's a lot of rhetoric flying around, a lot of terrible things being said about the refugees and the people that are coming into this country and who they are and what they look like and what their intentions are. I think Joe Biden sort of lays it down and tells people exactly what we're looking at here.
Refugees face the most rigorous screening of anyone who comes to the United States. First, they are fingerprinted. Then they undergo a thorough background check. Then they're interviewed by the Department of Homeland Security. And after that, the FBI, the National Counterterrorism Center, the Department of Defense, and the Department of State, they all have to sign off on access.
Now, it's important that he points this out and what the screening process is, because on the other side, you have guys like Donald Trump. And Jamie, get that clip from this week where he talks about what the people look like that are coming over here. Because we know who's coming over here. It's mothers with their children and fathers with their children and families. And we saw the image of the little boy who drowned, who was trying to flee Syria. We know what they look like. We've seen the photos. We've seen the footage. We've seen the videos. And yet, Donald Trump was on This Week. Here's what he sees.
When I look at the migration and the lines, and I see all strong, very powerful-looking men. They're men. And I see very few women. I see very few children.
So, what is he basing that on? We know he's not out there in the field looking at things that are going on. He said he gets all of his news from the generals by watching TV when it comes to military advice. So what's he doing? Is he just watching Newsmax or reading Breitbart and getting his news? And this is what he's saying? He has no idea what he's talking about. Not a clue. Not one clue. So it's important to have grown-ups like Joe Biden, President Obama, and others to point out just how ridiculous this whole refugee situation is. All right. Let's take a quick break. My name is Peter Ogburn. I'm sitting in for Bill Press today. Boy, what a show we've had today on this Monday. As we approach the holiday, Thanksgiving holiday is on Thursday. One quick segment when we come back on the Bill Press Show. Again, my name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press.
Your progressive headquarters for the 2016 election. This is the Bill Press Show.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Hey, friends and neighbors, what do you say? Good morning. Great to see you this morning. This is The Bill Press Show. We're coming to you live from our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., bringing you up to date on all the news of the day, whether it's happening here in our nation's capital, around the country, around the globe. Coming to you live on your local progressive talk radio station, on Free Speech TV, and worldwide on our video stream, TawkrTV. Events in the nation's capital. Hi, everybody. It's Bill Press. This year marks the 10th anniversary of doing the Bill Press Show, every day covering the news of the day with the nation's top newsmakers, either on the line or in our studio right here on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. Not only that, I go to the White House briefings every day to get answers to the top questions of the day. Bottom line, if it's happening in Washington, D.C., either at the White House or the Capitol, we are all over it. Every day, we welcome to our studio political leaders and reporters and labor leaders and newsmakers to help us understand the issues of the day. You know, we started out as a radio show only, but over the years, we have branched out to all forms of the new media. So today, we're not just a radio show. We are podcasting, streaming audio, streaming video, and we are simulcast live on Free Speech TV nationwide. Reaching out to 40 million households on Free Speech TV, in addition to hundreds of thousands on local radio stations and online.
AFGE is so proud to be associated with this show and looks forward to being working with Bill and this show for a long time.
Bill Press is the right man at the right time with the right message.
And thanks to the Bill Press Show, we get our message out to thousands and thousands of people every day. Thank you, Bill Press.
The Teamsters are a proud partner with Bill Press on his show, telling the truth about what's going on with working families. Tune in.
Yes, it's been a fun and exciting 10 years so far for the Bill Press Show. We're looking forward to many more with all of you, broadcasting live every morning from the nation's capital.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show. This is the Bill Press Show.
Yo, last segment of the show already? Monday, November 23rd. One day almost done. One day closer to Thanksgiving. Monday, November 23rd. What a show, what a show, what a show we had today. Elias Isquith joined us earlier along with Sue Smith from the Butterball Turkey Hotline. You can call them at 1-800-BUTTERBALL. If you have any questions about how to cook your bird or save your bird or fix whatever it is that you have done to your turkey this Thanksgiving. We talked to Emily Schultis from the National Journal, who's been out on the road covering the Democrats. And for his first visit to the show, Jeb Lund from The Guardian and Rolling Stone. On Twitter at Mobute, M-O-B-U-T-E, Mobute. And Livy Nuzzi from the Daily Beast joined us as well. Well, we will see what happens today. I mean, as we learned over the weekend, a lot can happen in a short period of time politically. I want to talk more tomorrow, and Jimmy Williams is going to be here tomorrow, about this national prayer team that Ted Cruz has put together. He has put together a group of people, a task force, and their task is to to pray for him. He like with a straight face went out and got people to be on his political team whose job it is to pray for him, pray for Ted Cruz. I'm sure we'll talk about that tomorrow and a lot of other good things. So make sure you tune in. Catch us here tomorrow on The Bill Press Show. My name is Peter Ogburn, signing off for Bill Press. Have a magical day. See you tomorrow.
This is The Bill Press Show.